Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Get your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty podcast. That was bad.
Well, I don't know who that was supposed to be.
Get your dirty, stinking hands. Michael Clark Duncan. I don't think I'm capable of going to that register.
Good.
Good.
He's.
I'm not taking the bait.
It's a beautiful voice.
He had such a great voice.
He did.
Kilowog himself.
Kilowog and Colonel Attar himself.
Colonel Attar.
Those are the two roles I'm sure he would like to be known for.
Kilowog and Attar.
Yeah, the top of his resume.
Yeah, because he also had a real pretty face, and we're citing the two performances where you don't see it.
That's true, too.
I feel like they tried to sell Attar like he was going to be the Darth Maul of this movie. Attar was like front and center in the marketing. Partially, I think, because his armor's cool. The makeup's incredible. Everyone was all in on MCD.
I think it's more that. Yeah, it
Mickey
was
D's. We were buying in.
Yeah, we were. He was a recent Oscar nominee.
Right. This is like his first post-Oscar performance.
Yes.
Right?
Well, he'd
first
been in
shot after.
Probably because he'd been in the whole 9 yards.
Right, but that comes out like a week after he's nominated. I'm saying this is like, here's my first big career decision, and everyone's like, oh my god, he's gonna play an ape. Which now I think those headlines would get a little shaky. A little shaky.
Uh-huh.
But it's just the idea of like, oh my god, he's like such a physical, imposing. Put him in a big block. But Twisted Mind of Tim Burton gave us a bowl of diarrhea.
Just was leaving this to you.
Here's a hot take. I think this is the only movie he's made that doesn't feel like he directed it.
There's very little Burton in this movie.
Right? Because even Alice in Wonderland, which is the other movie of his that I hate.
Right.
These are the only two that I hate, right?
Right.
That movie is like, fuck, this is like too much Burton.
Right.
Without any sort of center. Whereas this is just like, I don't know what this is.
There's one scene where I feel like, oh, this is a Tim Burton movie.
Which one?
It was the scene with all the apes sitting around the dinner table, which is like the Beetlejuice scene with apes.
And you literally have Otho. You have Ape Otho. Orangutan Otho.
But other than that scene,
it's that stuff is the only stuff that feels Burton-y, is where he's like, let's get into ape high society. Right.
Yeah. Well, because, we've been going through that. Of course, the podcast is Blank Check.
And the cutesy chimpanzee stuff, I guess. The actual chimpanzee.
Oh, you're talking about Pericles?
Pericles.
The real chimp.
Real chimp.
You're talking about Pericles, one of my top 5 movie friends? Maybe the only thing I like about this movie?
It's cool. He's a cool chimp.
I mean, look, Pericles. Fucks. This podcast is called Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Yep.
It's about podcasts. It's not. It's about filmographies. I did not sleep much last night.
Nope.
It's about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their career are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want.
Right.
Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce baby. This is a miniseries on the films of Tim Burton.
Okay.
And this is when we're fully getting into sort of the key transition point where things start to go bad.
This is it.
The transition from good,
yes,
to bad.
But
it's the transition from, as you're saying, like, well, but Tim Burton, like, he's there and he made the movie. Maybe it's not your favorite.
Yes.
Like Sleepy Hollow is a fully defensible movie. This is an indefensible movie.
Correct. The miniseries is, of course, called Podboard Scissorcast.
Yeah.
Our guest today is, of course, Matt Singer.
Long awaited.
Of course.
Long awaited. Of course.
The only person who was willing to sit through Planet of the Apes.
No, we said, please come save us from the Planet of the Apes.
I can offhand think of so many people who unfortunately would have been like, let me have that movie.
I think we threw to you way in advance.
Well, you like the apes.
Yeah, I do like the
You like the apes.
Well, the good ones, yes.
Sure. Right.
And we were like, this is such a tough movie to talk about.
You like the good ones, like General Krull. That's a good ape character in this movie.
You like the good ones, like Limbo.
Limbo.
No, he's not good. He's bad.
He's great.
He's a slave trader.
Name one bad thing about him. One.
Participates in the slave trade.
2 bad things about him.
Doesn't dress great.
3.
His teeth are not outstanding.
Sure.
Dental hygiene could use work.
I'm gonna get to the big question right off the bat. Which is the better performance in this, Giamatti or Roth?
Oh, I think Giamatti by leaps and bounds.
I unfortunately agree. I think Roth, the makeup is given
Incredible.
a great performance, but I think Roth's performance is just like, like over and over and over again.
Who's Roth in this?
He's the main bad guy.
Fade.
General Fade.
General Fade.
Bernie, you don't remember General Fade.
I mean,
I
I think
remember.
he channeled all of his obvious fury at having to sit in a freaking makeup chair for 8 hours a day or whatever he had to do.
He also
right?
suffered many injuries in the filming of this movie.
And also, like, the thing where they were like, we know you hate Charlton Heston and guns. You have this big scene where he talks to you about a gun for a while. You're just going to have to do that.
Yeah, use it.
Yeah.
It's weird. I just dug into that, all the stories about him not wanting to shoot
I remember
that scene, not
reading
wanting to
about
work
that
with
at
Charlton
the time,
Heston.
like in Empire magazine.
I read that scene at the time and still read it today as a strongly anti-gun scene. I look at that scene as pretty subversive that they got Charlton Heston to say like guns were the downfall of our society.
Right.
But Tim Roth interpreted that scene as pro-gun. I guess maybe he just didn't want to be in the same room as Charlton Heston and a gun.
And a gun.
Yeah.
It's a
Talking about
very
gun.
strange scene.
It's an odd scene. I'll give it that.
Dying Charlton Heston.
In ape makeup.
Look over there. I put a gun inside a
That
vase.
red thing.
There's no way it could have ever fit inside that unless I hewned it.
A
that how you
blood
make a-
teardrop?
Yeah, like how did they get it inside it? That's what I was wondering. There's no way to get it inside.
Hewn is a good pull.
Is a hewn? Is that how you make a vase?
It sounds right.
They literally had to make the vase around that gun to get it inside it.
Correct. And it didn't stick to the walls somehow. It was
baffling.
perfectly.
This is the kind of crap I was thinking about
We're gonna
watching this
dig
movie.
into. How soon after this film does Charlton Heston die?
You mean like the actor?
Yes,
Oh,
Charlton
okay.
Heston, the man, the gun-loving man.
He died in 2008, so
Okay.
he had a few years to go.
Yeah.
But still, you go like, that's pretty mean to ask like a 75-year-old to sit through 6 hours of makeup.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you think he just did it once?
I was going to say he must have done it one time.
One time.
and
That's one
They
day.
filmed
Yeah.
that one day,
That's
and
one
that was
day.
it.
And maybe it was one of those things, so they put it on him in the bed. It's like a half job. Like they just sort of laid it on top of him.
Even still, the face stuff.
I
is
know,
Just
yeah.
like, the makeup in this is incredible.
It's incredible.
It's awesome.
And
It's an argument for that you never should have stopped. Like if this is
Right.
what you could do in 2001, imagine what you could do now. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know, because this still looks better than any
Totally.
CGI stuff.
100%.
And you look at the original, like Planet of the Apes, a franchise that I love, Matt, that you love.
Absolutely.
David, I think you like.
You've heard of?
I like, but I have not seen all 5.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Um,
I've seen the first 2. That might be it.
those movies, there's literally like one application piece, and it doesn't have a lot of
Right.
range
It's a
or
mask.
flexibility. It's
Right.
a mask.
Right.
Everyone
It's a
has the same thing. They paint it different colors.
Right.
They're like really expressive and distinct and unique, and he's got different species, and he's working with each actor's face so well.
Sure.
Like Rick Baker does all these interviews where he talked about like getting the cast, and he was like, Tim Roth is going to be a nightmare because his nose is so big. Giamatti's going to be great because his like face is flat.
His nose
and round.
is also being insulted. As he gets
he
in the
like
makeup.
talks about it so much, how he was like approaching all the different faces.
Sure.
And then this kind of becomes the last like makeup movie of this size.
Do you think Rick Baker just wishes people had like no features, like no nose at all,
Kind
no
of.
lips, no ears? Like they could just like our faces were just blank skeletons,
Literal blank canvases.
But also, I mean, the reason why he is like the best is that he was a guy who like really understood actors, studied their faces, understood what they needed to do in order to express which features are most important for them as actors.
Sure.
Like his makeup works really well with performances.
That's true.
Everyone in this movie underdelivers except him. He overdelivers.
Correct.
Right.
Like he's doing so much for this movie that's giving him like nothing back.
Right.
Yeah, he let them give great performances with the makeup, but then no one bothered to give a good performance.
Right. And then essentially within 10 years of this movie, he retires.
Sure.
I think Men in Black 3 is like his last major movie, and he was just like, no one wants to do makeup anymore. It's not fun. When I do get a job, they underbid it and they don't give me time.
Right.
I'm just done. And he like sold off his archives.
That's sad.
And you just go like, I mean, look, he had an incredible
Maleficent
career.
was his last.
That
job.
was that 2012?
2014.
Okay.
Nothing in between that and Men in Black though. So yeah.
Yeah. And even Men in Black, he was like, I was so excited. They told me we were going to do a bunch of practical stuff. He made all these suits, and you barely see them in the movie. Like, they don't even cover them well.
It seemed like he was doing more and more like crappy movies too.
Yeah.
Like the Wolfman, that Wolfman movie.
Right?
Yes,
which I think he cared a lot about. Eddie, he liked working with Eddie.
The makeup in all of these movies is amazing, but it's like the only good thing. They like, well, we've got Rick Baker. We don't have to do literally nothing else. And
he won for the Wolfman, though. That was his last Oscar win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like a big one. He wanted to do a Wolfman movie. Yeah. But like Benicio didn't want to play the Wolfman at all. It's almost entirely stuntman when it's in the thing, which bummed him out. Like, he just seems so disenfranchised.
What a stupid movie.
It's so bad. Yeah.
Will we do Johnston? I guess
maybe someday. Yeah. 2075.
Yeah, sounds good.
No, this movie just feels like, this is a breakthrough in makeup, and then it ends up being sort of the end of like large-scale special effects makeup in this way.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. It's the best thing the movie has going for it.
Why was this movie not nominated for a makeup
That's
Oscar?
what I was going to say.
That's a good question. What was nominated?
I feel like
I got to find out.
The aftertaste of this movie was so toxic that everyone threw the whole thing out.
But that's crazy.
But at the time, everyone was saying, like, God, that speaks to how much people hated this movie was they didn't even nominate for makeup.
Right.
Because they just didn't want to think about it.
Wolfman could get nominated and win.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think it was just like, they were like, Apes, that's been done. Like, there's already been an Apes movie.
But like, what won
Here
in
were the
2001?
nominees. This is fucking embarrassing.
Okay,
so the winner was Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
good makeup.
Fine.
It's the new hotness. It's got great makeup.
Gimli.
If something's going to win
Fucking Gimli.
over Planet of the Apes, I can see that.
Fucking Gimli. Hairy feet.
Now, another nominee was Moulin Rouge, which has incredible makeup and hair.
Yeah,
and
the whole thing.
All the whole. Yeah. The third nominee.
In the bedroom. Wait, I want to try to guess this. It's really embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing because the makeup in this movie is like embarrassing, bad, and is not prominent except in like one scene.
Interesting. So it's like, what? Oh, is it A Beautiful Mind?
It's A Beautiful Mind.
Which has terrible,
which is mostly, obviously, just set in, younger Russell Crowe. And then there's the one thing where he's old and he's like, I'm an old man.
Yes.
And
old Russell Crowe.
And Jennifer Connelly looks like she's aged like 7 years and has a gray wig.
But she also looks like a wax statue. She like can't move her
so
face.
Weird. Oh God.
Yeah, nominating that for best makeup over this movie is.
I feel like when people cite bad old age makeup, that's the example of like you don't want to do a
terrible
beautiful
old age makeup.
That and J. Edgar are the two where I'm just like, these are nightmares to look at.
That's kind of crazy.
I'm trying to find old Jennifer Connelly now. I want to find
it
her.
looks so bad. Yeah. You're forgetting how bad it looks. She looks
an
like
audio podcast, but we're all looking at this picture and just.
Oh boy, God, she looks bizarre.
It doesn't look like there's any life there.
Yeah, it should have been nominated for that.
Yeah,
nothing else.
Right,
but this was
give it a makeup.
Yeah,
nod.
This was outstanding makeup.
Anyway, weird.
Now that we've said one nice thing about it,
right? Let's. This movie fucking sucks.
It's so boring.
It's
just one of the least engaging movies we've ever covered on this show.
It's truly hard to pay attention.
It's hard to pay attention.
You have to make yourself keep your eyes on.
The thing that's it's most similar to in that sense, and it doesn't quite hit that depth, but it's the last time I remember feeling this way watching a movie for this podcast was Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah, right.
Where you're like,
it's like this genre exercise based on something else that is soulless.
And I just can't, like,
someone's director who doesn't even seem like he's present.
Right, totally.
Has no
director
personality.
who's like lost in the project. Maybe at one point was intrigued by it, but is like obviously
this has been done well before.
Right, exactly.
Other people have told this story incredibly well.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I can't pay attention to this. I mean, I was saying to you guys, like, I put it on when I was like trying to go to sleep. It was giving me such a headache that I turned it off. Then I had insomnia. And when my alarm went off this morning, I had this sense of dread, like I had woken up the day of a test. I was like, oh, fuck, now I have to watch the remaining 1 hour and 15 minutes. Because when I went to sleep, I was like...
This movie also gets worse.
Yes.
Which is hard to do. Because
it really does.
Not like it starts well.
No. Right.
But it like is building, and I was like racking my brains, like, how does this end again? And like vaguely, I was like, are they just like in a desert and they just kind of run around?
Yeah.
Right?
They get to the abandoned spaceship like an hour and 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Like, what's the remaining hour of this movie?
I was sitting there going the same thing. I was like, they're here already? What are they going to do for the next 45 minutes? Nothing. That's the answer. Not a lot.
Well, do you like Estella Warren's acting though? Because there'll be a little of that.
This is the area where this movie doesn't make sense to me. Okay, because even when you get into the later Tim Burton movies, where people can argue maybe his heart isn't in it, maybe he's just sort of doing half work, maybe it's whatever. I just cannot imagine a universe in which Tim Burton watches Stella Warren's audition and goes, I'm excited about this. And I don't want to sound overly mean, but he's always a guy where at the very least you're like, he casts the actors he loves.
Sure.
You know, like you look at his films like Alice in Wonderland, it's like, oh, you can see that he was getting excited about having Crispin Glover in his movie. You know? He was getting excited about Mia Wasikowska as like a perfect Burton girl. And you just look at his Stella Warren and Mark Wahlberg, and you're just like, I cannot imagine him being excited by any of the acting choices they're making.
That's a good point.
I think that she is there, or was originally intended to be almost like a parody of Nova.
Yes,
where I think ideally she's almost supposed to be so blank.
Yes,
that it makes sense for Mark Wahlberg's character to be into Helena Bonham Carter's. Like that's the way that he sort of. I think to make a reason for him to be like, yeah maybe this ape lady is for me.
I think Tim Burton had a total of 2 ideas for this movie.
Go ahead.
One was, I want the apes to be scary.
Sure.
Right? Which I don't think they execute well, but you understand the idea of. In the original, they're kind of intellectual. The apes monologue a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Even when they're battle
they
scenes.
Should be primal and animalistic and right. Yeah.
And you watch it and you go like, I don't know if that was the right choice. It also just feels like
it gets a little samey.
The wire work in this film is atrocious.
God, the wire work.
Faye just needs to go like push someone in the shoulder. They're like lifted 18 feet in the air.
And he's not big enough to be that powerful.
No.
It's crazy.
Like every time they jump, it has the physics of like a kid lifting a Hot Wheels car in between the 2 tables. You know, like it just has no. I remember. So this was maybe, I would say, one of 2 movies in my lifetime I was most excited for.
I was
like
gonna say
peak Griff movie nerd fanaticism.
I like the apes.
I love the apes. I love Tim Burton. I was like, there is no way this can go wrong. And the only other movie I was ever this excited for was Toy Story 2, which became my favorite movie of all time. And my parents, when I was like in the years between Toy Story 1 and 2, were like, you gotta set your expectations at a reasonable level.
Sequels often diminish.
Right. And then it so greatly exceeded my expectations, I was like, no one's ever going to tell me how to think ever again.
Well, you only had to wait like 1 year, right? 1.5.
I was at sleepaway summer camp. Every day I would confiscate the newspapers from the counselors and cut out the ads for Planet of the Apes and tape them to my bunk wall.
Wow.
Just imagine the counselor sitting around being like,
he really likes Planet of the Apes.
That Griffin kid is very excited for the Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Big Mark Wahlberg fan.
Yeah, huge. He loved the big hit. He can't wait to see what Marky Mark does
Big Hit's pretty good.
Big Hit's not bad.
Compared to
this, movie.
I know which I'd rather watch.
So I had all the action figures before the movie came out. I had all the newspaper ads taped up to my
How
bunk.
many action figures were there?
I'll tell you who I had. I had Limbo. I had Ari. I had Captain Leo Davidson. I had General Adam.
Wait, who the fuck is Cap? Oh, that's Mark
Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I confess I forgot his
There's
name.
probably no worst thing you could say about this movie is that you have no idea the name of the main character and only human character. You're like, who is that?
I literally think I had every action figure other than a Stella Warren. That was the one bridge too far. I had Pericles.
They made a Pericles
a Pericles.
Was he to scale? Was he tiny?
Yeah, it was tiny. He came with the spaceship. It was maybe better than the movie.
I feel so bad for Pericles. He didn't ask to be in this movie.
He gives a good performance.
Chris Christopherson?
No, they didn't make him. But he's
you're right.
like
there's an important human character.
huge on the poster.
I guess Chris Christopherson could have played Captain Leo Davidson, but it would
He'd
been weird.
good.
It would have been weird if he was a captain. That character. I'm just trying to think like how you were like Leo Davidson.
No. I could have thought about it for 1 second. Yes.
He is huge on the poster and gets pretty high billing.
Christopherson?
Yeah.
On
They
the
were really
poster?
selling. Yes.
What poster?
I'm going to show you.
You show me.
I'm going to
The
show
poster
you.
I'm looking at here has all apes.
Right. That's the one that's all them on the horses.
Yeah. That's the one I remember.
I mean, maybe this is just the one
Don't
from the
remember
newspaper.
a poster for this movie.
I do because I
You
too.
don't.
This poster is the one I remember.
Yeah.
And I too was like, wow, I was 15 years old and I was at that phase where I was like, I know who directors are. I'm super smart. And so I was like, Tim Burton, he's good. Like, and assumed this would be a big deal. It was also a big Empire magazine movie, like, which I was a dedicated Empire reader, and like they had been hyping it for 6 months or whatever. They had.
Well,
pictures of
again,
the
how could it go
costumes or
bad?
whatever. Exactly. So I was like, no, it's going to be good. I liked Michael Clark Duncan. I'd been like in on him since Armageddon or whatever.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. David,
The look of apprehension I have anytime that bell rings.
Okay, well, don't worry. I got this one.
Let's
okay?
see you've got this one?
I
Okay.
got this one. Okay, ready?
All right.
Hello?
Hello.
Why are you not bowing?
I didn't realize I had to bow.
It's me, Academy Award nominee Terrence Stamp.
Are you in this movie?
No, I'm in some other later Tim Burton movie.
Sure, but maybe you just
Peregrine.
a voice you wanted to do.
Big Eyes.
Sure. Are you in Big Eyes?
Limey. Not
You
a Tim
tell him
Burton
I'm
film.
coming.
I'm Chancellor Valorum.
That's right.
Terrence Stamp.
You look so bummed out when you lose that no confidence vote.
Well, I'm very excited. As you can see, there's a pep in my step today.
Oh, I just
I'm
put
bursting
together
at the
why you're
seams with
here.
energy.
I literally just put together why you're here,
I'm here to
Terrence.
promote my own website, stamps.org.
I don't know what to tell you. We're not sponsored by stamps.org. We are sponsored by stamps.com this week.
Well, I think we might be able to work out some sort of partnership here. Because stamps.org as a website, you type it in, then you get my address so that you can send me fan mail. But the problem is everyone who comes to my website complains that they don't know how to get postage for the fan mail.
Well, no one really has time to go to the post office anymore. We're
That's
all
what they tell
busy.
me.
Who has time for the traffic, the parking, lugging all your mail around, your
The
packages?
kids with their snap
it's
tweeting.
a hassle.
It's a hassle.
It is a hassle.
They're my facing.
They're my facing.
They're playing Fortnite and Roblox. The kids don't have time for stamps.
Well,
They want to write me letters, though, because the kids love Terrence Stamp.
they do. They love that Terrence Stamp.
Stamps.org.
Well, that's why the kids and you maybe need stamps.com, which is one of the most popular time-saving tools for small businesses. It eliminates trips to the post office and it saves you money with discounts you can't even get.
This is a very small business. It's a one-man operation. It's a GeoCities page. Stamps.org.
Well, it brings all the amazing services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your computer. You can print official postage 24/7 for any letter, package, any class of mail, anywhere you want to send it to. And once the mail is ready, you just hand it to your mail carrier or you drop it in a mailbox. It's that simple. With Stamps.com, you get 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off priority mail. Not to mention, it's a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters.
Oh, I hate postage meters.
Well, it's no wonder over 700,000 businesses, small businesses, already use Stamps.com. It's a no-brainer. It saves you time and money.
I almost drove myself bankrupt on postage meters in the 70s.
But right now, my listeners will receive a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage, and a digital scale without any long-term commitment.
And right now, your listeners also get a free deal. Here's a deal for Stamps.org. Type in the promo code Terry, and you can send me 5 letters. The deal is you get to send me 5 letters.
I mean, we should talk maybe off mic about you putting your address up on the internet, but we'll talk about that.
And I want to make it clear, it is my home address. Not a manager, not a P.O. box. I am very lonely.
Well, if you go to Stamps.com, you click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and you type in check, that's Stamps.com, and enter check. You'll get your 4-week trial, your free postage, digital scale, without a commitment.
And you go to Stamps.org, and you click on the banana in the corner of the homepage, and you are redirected to that peanut butter jelly time gif. Because I find that quite amusing.
Right.
It's peanut butter jelly time.
It's good. I like it
Peanut
too.
butter
Stamps.com.
jelly time. Stamps.org.
Great.
It is one of those weird things where, like, you look at the trailer now and you're like, this is obviously a bad trailer. We all should have known what was coming. And I remember the hype leading up to this movie was just like, yeah, Tim Burton's going to do something weird again.
Right.
Even if the
Sure.
story doesn't work, it'll be visually engaging. It'll
There
have
has
great
to be
set pieces.
some twist to
Like,
it.
I don't think
that's-
anyone considered the fact that this movie could be terrible.
I think
until
there was
it
also
came
a
out.
lot of talk of like, what will the ending be? Because like, how do you
That
top
hype was
that
huge.
ending?
Right.
Yeah, right.
And especially in a
I think
post
Empire definitely had a lot of the like, the ending was shot in total
Yes.
secrecy with armed guards.
Right.
Or yeah, you know.
And this was the first movie where it was the big thing of like, it's not a remake, it's a reimagining. reimagine it, which then studios ran with for years.
Right.
Like, we're trying to reimagine it, but he said that in some interview. I don't like the word remake. I want to try to reimagine the thing, and everyone's like, so he's not selling out. Like, his imagination? What if he reimagines it?
He de-imagined it, unfortunately.
He de-imagined
That's right.
I just have this very distinct memory of I wake up the morning that my father is going to come sign me out of camp to take me to see Planet of the Apes at the local New Milford Theater,
Right.
New Milford, Connecticut. And I went to breakfast, and one of the counselors was there, and he was like, Griffin, we need to talk.
Oh, God.
And I was like, what? And he was like, a bunch of us last night after Put to Bed Kong saw Planet of the Apes. And I was like, oh, my God. And he was like, Griffin, it's really, really bad.
Because talk about a movie that people left the theater with
say that.
the worst taste in their mouths. Because they didn't like it anyway, and then the ending is kind of a final, like, now
F
get
you.
out.
The ultimate F you.
And I just remember them talking to me like it was like they were like hungover, like they were like rubbing their heads, like a cup of coffee, like trying to make sense of what happened the night before.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, who else was in the group with you who saw the movie?
Right.
And went one by one to the counselors because I was like, someone has to like this thing. And I finally got to one person who was like, I don't know, it's like stupid, it's funny, I like that they jump around a lot. And I was like, oh,
good
fuck.
enough. I'll take it.
Yeah, they were like, it's not good, but it's like ridiculous. Like, I like it. There's like an ape smoking a hookah. And I was like, oh, fuck. And my dad signed...
That was the rave.
Yeah. My dad signed me out, and it was one of those things where I sat there and tried to explain to myself why I was enjoying it.
Right.
Like, while I was watching
You
it.
had Phantom Menace syndrome.
Full Phantom Menace syndrome, full denial.
Yeah.
By the time it came out on DVD, I bought it, put it in my DVD player, watched 2 minutes of it, and was like, right, I hate this movie. Like, I accepted it pretty soon after. Have not seen it since.
Sure.
And I
bought it on Blu-ray because it was like $3.
Yeah, very cheap.
For this?
For this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
That's fine.
not
Literally-
just like on a whim.
Okay.
The
No,
only-
that's permissible.
The only Planet of the Apes movie I don't own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I own it
that's
forever
very
now.
appropriate.
I've
I
heard
feel
the
like.
commentary is funny because there's a lot of Tim Burton being like, yeah, I don't know what this is. I
Yeah.
think there's like a commentary.
There is a commentary.
Yes. He has commentaries in almost all of his movies, and they're really
They're kind of boring.
unenlightening.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
He's as checked out as you would think he would be watching it.
I mean, there's also the incredible thing with this movie, which is this is where he meets Helena Bonham Carter.
Yep.
Like, who he's with.
Because
for
Lisa
15
Marie is in
plus
this
years.
movie.
Right.
And this is the last one she's in.
That was a big deal. Like, after this movie came out, paparazzi saw him and Helena Bonham Carter kissing on a bench near the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And my dad woke me up and he was like, Griffin, I have some bad news for you.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I swear to God, this was such a
You were
difficult
invested in
time
his
for me.
dating life?
I was so invested in the Lisa Marie thing, and he was like, Griffin, I want you to know that sometimes our heroes do bad things.
Wow. You have such an intense relationship with the 2001 Planet of the Apes.
So intense.
And it's literally a movie that everyone else on the planet of the humans doesn't remember even exists.
Right.
Barely.
Right, and I have just thought about it since then as one of my least favorite movies, have not watched it since, and I watch it now and I was like, I can't even imagine getting that worked up about this movie to hate it that much.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's just a thing.
It's not like a movie where you're
It's
furious.
competent.
It's
Right.
It's
But that's the best you
it's
could
a
say.
3 out of 10.
Right, but at the
Yeah.
time it was like this was his 10th movie. I loved all 9 leading up.
Right. Okay. So this was right. This is your loss of innocence. This is your.
This is
moment.
the first time where I was like, we can fail, you know, as a species.
Yeah. I'm slightly older, and for me, that movie was like Godzilla, where I was like, this
Sure.
movie is going to be amazing.
Right.
It's going to be incredible.
That is an early one
I
for
saw
me too, where I was like,
saw
oh,
it, opening
yeah,
night
right.
in the theater, and I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah,
like,
see-
I didn't even convince myself. I was like, oh, this is fully awful.
Right.
And it was the first time one of those movies I was like old enough to recognize, oh, this thing that I was sold as being everything I need in my life is actually terrible. And it's
I was
You're
at
telling me
time.
that the advertising agencies were lying?
I'm afraid so. Size does
Did not
not matter,
matter.
actually.
But yeah, I remember that moment when I was like 11 or 12 when I started coming home from the movie theater,
Yeah.
and my mom was like, "How was it?" And I wasn't just always like, "It was great."
Yeah, right.
like, you know,
It wasn't great.
But and this was also like such a big hype machine movie. Like this movie had like one of the biggest marketing campaigns of any studio film at that point in time.
Sure.
Like there were like giant New York City billboards that were the apes wearing Reeboks. Do you remember this?
definitely don't. Again,
Another
no
thing that
one
would
remembers
imply.
anything about this
Right,
movie but
it's
you.
true.
It's all seared into my memory because this truly is like a traumatic period in my life. I was ready for September 11th because I had lived through the Burton Planet of the Apes.
I'm really glad I hadn't taken the swig of water I was about to take before you said that.
What does that mean?
So it happens a couple months after, and I said, look, already innocence has died.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
I know now that the world is a cruel and unfair place.
Yeah.
Where horrible people commit terrible atrocities.
Keep digging.
Won't stop digging till I find oil, Ben.
Planet of the... what if there was a planet?
Go on. Rule the planet. Rule the planet.
We all know our planet. A lot of humans,
A lot
right?
of humans.
Humans are in charge.
Yeah.
Planet of the man.
So far, your story checks out.
Yeah.
What if you got a little, whirly gig up there?
Yeah.
Went through a big purple cloud. Imagine being in a boardroom.
Who's playing the scientist?
Don't worry about that. And crash land on a new planet.
Yeah.
Apes. The three kinds we all know: gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans.
Yeah.
They're mayors, carpenters.
But do the apes fuck?
Sure. I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You see the scene where Lisa
Yeah,
Marie
who's the
is-
producer's like, can there be like a foreplay scene? Oh, no.
Definitely.
Yeah. That noted.
Well, so
yeah.
that's the only other thing, the idea I think that Tim Burton had very strongly was he wanted to make a love story between an ape and a human. And the studio was like, absolutely no way.
We ran the numbers on that one, and it's not going to happen.
Right. So the Ari character was supposed to be a princess. It was supposed to be explicit. That was the setup. And they were like, no. And he's like, what if it's subtext? And they were like, no. So I think the Estella Warren thing.
What
if it's subtext?
Right. But you can tell watching it in every scene, he's like, he wishes he could do it. Like any time that Helena Bonham
because
Carter
she's
and
the
Mark
only
Wahlberg are
character
talking.
that the movie is kind of alive for. 'Cause
Right.
She's the only character who's dynamic and
has any inner life.
because Wahlberg is just dead in this movie, just
Dead.
inert, has no interest in anything.
Wait,
He is the worst action hero, maybe in any movie ever. And
It's
I don't,
very possible.
But I mean that. And I mean that both within the movie, his actions in the movie.
Right.
Sure.
He causes the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
True.
He
True.
helps no one.
Right.
He goes to the planet
Right.
accidentally because he's trying to rescue his monkey friend.
Yeah.
And then
Monkey acquaintance.
his
He doesn't even
acquaintance.
like the
That's
monkey
the thing.
that much.
I
He
wanna back
leaves.
up.
He
Yeah.
goes to save the monkey who he's mean to.
He's not even that nice. Yeah.
This is one of those movies where it's like, this is the beginning of studio filmmaking at this level lacking basic story competency.
Right.
Where it's like, Godzilla sucks.
Yes.
But at least it's structured like a movie.
Sure.
You know,
Right,
they
right,
understand,
right.
like,
Yeah.
here is the very cliched, underwritten arc that this character is supposed to have.
Right.
This movie starts off with Mark Wahlberg being too cool for school.
Yeah, he's a total asshole.
He thinks everyone on the spaceship's a fucking loser.
He hates his coworkers and all the apes.
Right. His main coworker is the woman from Mad About You who loves the apes, and he keeps on making fun of her for caring too much about the apes.
Yes.
Then they send the ape out on a fact-finding mission, and they lose him in a purple cloud.
Yes.
He goes...
In 5 seconds, by
Right,
the way.
instantly.
Disaster.
Right. He goes, how dare you? That's my ape. I need to go back and find
Right,
him.
sure.
They go, since when do you care about apes? You were just dunking
hate
on
the
her for
apes.
liking
He
it.
really just wants to go in the purple cloud.
So then he gets in the
himself.
ship and
Right.
immediately sacrifices
I
himself
know.
to try to save the
Right.
ape, then lands on the planet and immediately goes, I always hated apes.
Well, the other thing
And
is,
then,
like,
but wait, he goes. His whole purpose for leaving the ship is to save the ape.
He's trying to find Pericles.
Then what does he do at the end of the movie? He takes his ship and leaves him behind.
He leaves Pericles behind.
take care of this ape for me.
There's room in that ship for a little
Now,
monkey.
to be fair,
Don't be fair.
it's a whole planet of apes. He might like it on the
The
ape
only
planet.
reason he went there was to get back Pericles.
Like,
and
this,
then literally,
this is what I'm
But
saying.
they
Like,
worship him as a god.
but the Roland Emmerich version of this movie, the Roland Emmerich version of this movie would at least in the first 10 minutes set up that he was the Jane Goodall of astronauts.
yes, and he loved Pericles,
Was
and they
his
had this
best
incredible
friend,
bond.
and the whole movie is I can't lose him. I gotta find him.
right. They don't even get that right.
No, they don't even get that right. And this movie feels like Mark Wahlberg's performance in this movie feels like he wants to beat up this movie for being a nerd.
Yes.
Right? He has such utter contempt for the movie.
It's the Happening syndrome times 1,000.
Times a billion.
Right.
Because the Happening, you can tell he wants to beat up his own character.
Yes, right,
but at least the things around him are like
he's like,
real
whoa, it's
people
scary.
things.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like this dorky shit with like helmets and fucking laser guns and this bullshit.
But I mean, also the only choice he makes as an actor is, I'm not going to take my shirt off, okay? Because like the other guy did, and I do that all the time, so I won't do it.
The thing is, to me, the character is clearly written sort of in the Heston character mold, because the Charlton Heston character in the original movie is also a dick.
Yes,
but the thing is, the difference is in that movie, he gets to explain why he hates humanity and why he's on this thing, and he has like a perspective. Like, there's a reason.
And that's sort of his folly, like his rage, his arrogance. Right.
Exactly. And in this movie, there's no reason for it. He's just above everything.
He
and
just
hates
so
everyone.
out. Right.
Yeah, and is just a dick.
And that's what's interesting is Heston did have that sort of like fiery anger,
Of course.
right?
Yeah. What's it called? Gravitas, I believe? Movie star qualities?
Right.
Yes.
But like, we should do a little Marky Mark career context.
Sure.
Because his thing is so fucking weird. You go like, okay, he's like a rapper
he's an underwear model
and an underwear
rapper,
model,
sure.
right? He's a shirtless underwear model with 3 nipples.
His brother is in the New Kids on the Block.
on the Block,
so
of course.
For a while, he's the less famous
He's
brother.
like Aaron Carter.
Sure, exactly. Right. And then he's in like Renaissance Man and Basketball
Penny
Diaries.
Marshall discovers him. He, on his episode of Inside the Actors Studio, says, I went to the Penny Marshall School of Acting. She hired me.
What a phrase. I love her, but Jesus.
Of course, our next miniseries subject, Penny Marshall.
Yes.
He said, she hired me and immediately said, you can't act. I'm going to break you and teach you how to act. And he claims that Penny
Imagine
Marshall...
Penny Marshall saying that to you.
You can't act.
You can't act.
You got no charisma. You seem like you're asleep on screen. R.I.P. Penny Marshall. So he's like, she broke me. She taught me everything I knew.
Sure.
And then immediately he has this chip on his shoulder and he's like fighting for parts like things like Basketball Diaries.
Basketball Diaries.
I want to prove like I'm a real actor.
Sure.
Everyone thinks I'm a pretty boy. I'm like a novelty rapper. I'm this and that. And he starts like making a mark for himself as this sort of angry young man.
Make a marky mark.
He starts making a marky
Here
mark.
are the things that he's in. He's in 96. He's in Fear, which I feel like is his first very compelling performance.
Yeah.
And all of these, he says, like, I had to fight so hard. They thought I was a joke. They didn't want to hire me.
But he's good in that, and that's probably the first time he makes an impression on.
And that's also like
audience.
a character performance
Exactly.
for the first time, right?
Then he's in something called Traveler. I've never heard.
Never
of it.
even heard of it.
What is that? Bill Paxton, whatever. He's in Boogie Nights, obviously quite
Traveler.
a famous film.
Right. So this is the huge thing because, like, you know, whatchamacallit, PTA was like, well, I'm boy genius. I wrote the best script of all time. I'm going to hire Leonardo DiCaprio and Warren Beatty.
Right.
And both of them were like, no fucking way.
Right. Warren Beatty thought he was being hired to play Dirk Diggler.
Right.
Right? Isn't that the story?
Correct.
Yes.
He couldn't imagine that he wouldn't be playing the young lead who everyone wanted to fuck.
Yeah.
But he like moves down the chain of things, and Burt Reynolds is pretty like dinged at that point, and Marky Mark hasn't really got credibility.
Sure.
And it's viewed as this amazing like thing, like, oh my god, who knew Marky Mark had
Could
this
act,
in him?
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And especially as like a leading
he's
man,
great.
real
I
movie
think
star
he's so good in
performance.
Boogie Nights.
He's amazing.
I love him in that movie,
He's
man.
incredible.
But Marky Mark is one of those.
I'm going to be a star.
He's wonderful in it.
I don't know.
That's not the first line that comes to mind for me, but I'd rather not go into it here.
Fair enough.
But I think he gets a couple years after that where everyone's like, okay, cool. So now he's fully formed.
Where's Mark? Yeah, come on. Where's his
You
first
can put him in
Oscar
anything,
nom?
he's going to kill it.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, PTA latched onto something sooner than everyone else that Marky Mark himself didn't figure out for a while, which is...
And still only sporadically figures out even
He had a
now.
couple years where he was really locked into it and then started making bad choices again. But the key is his movie star quality is like the run to the litter anger trying to prove himself. Like he has the chip on his shoulder... And he has to prove to everyone else.
He is not good when he plays a high-status person. He is better at playing a low-status
He's better at playing low-status.
He's so horrible. We talked about this in the Ridley Scott, what do you call it? All the Money in the World.
Oh, yes.
Where he's like,
cool and collected.
Hey, listen to me. I run the show. And I'm like, Marky, you don't run the show.
You don't not.
You are not a rich person. Like, I want you to be, the cop who's like, get one of these rich guys. That's who I want you to be.
His movie star quality is irritability. Like, he's really good at being annoyed at things.
Right.
And having that sort of, like, righteous anger about stuff.
He's also good, like, when he could, like, if Planet of the Apes, this Planet was a comedy, and he was playing this character, but funny, because this is, like, not that far removed from, like, the other guys to me, like, this kind of guy. But it's just that here he's playing it like he's serious. He's just angry.
That's the thing. He learns how to lean into the bravado of those characters and make it self-aware. David O. Russell gets that in him.
Sure,
right. I mean, directors
to keep going through his,
Yeah.
I do think he's good in The Big Hit, which is a fun movie.
Yeah, he's okay in that. Yeah.
Obviously, then he's in 1990s and Three Kings.
Right.
David O. Russell.
Amazing.
He's terrific in that. It's a great movie. Horrible shooting experience according to everyone, but
Except for Marky Mark. He
I think
loves David O.
Wahlberg
Russell.
exactly has the best takeaway from it. He's in The Yards, the James Gray movie, which he's excellent in.
Also great.
Another great director knowing how to use it.
He's in The Perfect Storm, which I think is more just him sort of going like, "Hey, Boston, look, I don't know if you know this, but that fucking wave."
Right. He's not bad in it, but it's not particularly notable.
And then he is in this, which he just feels he has this run now where it's like this rock star. Truth About Charlie, Italian Job.
Yeah, I mean,
where he's like vanishing into these lead roles that have to be all charisma.
Just put generic leading man roles.
Rock star.
Right.
What if there was a rock star?
They sound generic too.
Like even Italian Job, which is like pretty fun, exceeded all expectations, did very well. I feel like no one ever thinks about him being in that movie.
You like Mos Def and
the ensemble's good. And Seth Green,
Cars.
Cars.
There were cars in that movie.
And it's like, and then in 2004 when he has I Heart Huckabees,
which he's phenomenal.
You're like,
incredible.
oh yeah, this guy's an actor.
Right.
Like as long as he's so good. That's his best performance.
I think
ever.
so too. I would give him the Oscar for that.
And obviously, like a couple years after that, he had The Departed, and he's sort of gets his Oscar nomination.
Right, and then there's a run of years where he's not making great movies, but he's making consistently successful movies post Fighter, where he becomes like one of the most consistently bankable actors. Where he's getting into his like Peter Berg cycle, where Ted is huge.
Yep.
Where Lone Survivor is huge. Daddy's Home. Like, it's weird how big Daddy's Home is.
Sure.
Huge.
But he's like,
I like Deepwater Horizon. That's my Wahlberg movie.
I think he's good.
Not a bad movie.
I like a movie where Wahlberg's like, hey, listen to me. Why would this thing's going to blow? Like that's what I want out of Wahlberg.
My favorite.
Whereas in Patriots Day, oh God.
But the problem is, I didn't know until after I saw the movie, The Patriots Day, he's playing like a character that didn't exist.
He's playing 6 characters that have been strung together
so it makes
into
no
one
sense
character.
that he keeps on showing up at the right place.
Hey, let's ask this patrolman what he thinks. He says like the mayor.
And then Matt has already pulled up his next Icarus moment.
Like just the picture of I pulled up The Gambler and just the photo of the poster. You're just like, oh, this movie is awful.
He's flying too close to the sun again. Like he does that. He does all the money in the world. Like once again, he's trying to play like
22.
very high status,
calm intellectuals.
Your high status, low status thing. Like this is no good. This is high status.
And then his next thing is that he's remaking Spencer for Hire with Peter Berg. It's like a detective novel that was turned into a big show in the 80s. Spencer for Hire, never heard of it?
No.
Wow. With Avery Brooks was the famously Hawk, the sidekick.
Okay.
And Spencer was played by Robert Urich.
Yeah.
That Wonderland. That's his big movie this year.
Okay.
Guess who directed it?
Peter Berg?
Peter Berg.
Yeah. He loves working with Peter Berg.
He does.
Says it's like the only friend he's made in his adult life.
Yeah. He was the star of Peter Berg's last 5 movies, I think. Yeah.
But he was like, you rarely make a friend that good when you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
Like I think, other than Turtle and E and Vinny and all his friends who he grew up with.
Turtle.
That's the other weird Mark Wahlberg thing.
I know.
Is he goes to
he
HBO
turned
and
his
is
life
like,
into a terrible TV show that dominated
all
all pop
drunk and fuck
culture.
people. That should be a TV show. And everyone's like,
Absolutely.
worst idea. Well, like HBO says yes. Everyone's like, I can't believe HBO gave him the money to do that. And then everyone hate watches it and becomes a hit.
And also, he had another TV show about his family making burgers.
Yeah. And he's a producer on Boardwalk, right?
Boardwalk Empire?
Yeah.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
What a weird career. Right. He saves
and Ballers.
David O. Russell's career.
Wait, he's involved with Ballers?
Of course. Because I think Ballers was like him being like, hey, remember Entourage? And they were like, yeah.
Other people have friends.
Yeah, what about like sports Entourage? And they were like, you get a producer credit.
Rock, you gotta do a TV show. Do a TV show about how you make money and fuck people. Rock, you gotta do it. I'm a movie star. I do a TV show.
Truly one of the most devastating SNL impersonations of all time. Like, I really think so.
And stunning because until the moment he uttered the first syllable, you went, well, there's no way to do a Mark Wahlberg impression, right?
Like, or like, why would a Mark Wahlberg impression be that interesting?
There's nothing distinctive enough about him. He doesn't have a clear movie star. I argue, actually, that impression is what sets him off to have such a good run of like 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
That then he realizes what his movie star persona is because it's defined so thoroughly, and he starts being self-aware about it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not self-aware here.
No, not at all.
Very far from self-aware.
So he says the
this is the
development process.
furthest. He's like when Pluto is like furthest from the sun.
He's taken a purple cloud as far away from self-aware as he can possibly
His
get.
only choice he makes is this a cool movie star walk? He's got a real
he's got a saunter
to him. Yes. They say didn't want to be shirtless because he had done too many shirtless ads.
Right.
He also has a third nipple that I think he corrects shortly after this.
Sure.
But if you look in the original underwear ads, he's got a little third guy.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the most famous third nipple havers in American history.
He's a witch.
Of course, we should burn him. No, but this movie has a crazy development process because in the early 90s, Fox was like, we're starting to become franchise-driven in Hollywood.
Yes.
We have this huge, it was sort of the original massive franchise.
Sure.
Planet of the Apes was like the first franchise that got really merchandised and turned into TV shows and 5 films and all of this. It's overdue for a modern reboot. Imagine what the makeup would be like today. And I think the original was Ridley Scott and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And no, Adam Rifkin.
Right, Adam fucking Rifkin.
Director of Never on Tuesday.
And Detroit Rock City.
Yep, that's right. He pitches them on a Planet of the Apes movie
now's a
after
perfect
Never
time.
on a Tuesday comes out or whatever.
Right, they said, we like your movie, what would you want to do next?
Right.
And he says, you have the Apes franchise, I can't believe you're sitting on it, I'm a huge fan, here's what I would do.
And it was going to be called Return to the Planet of the Apes.
And it's like a continuation of the original chronology.
And they wanted to hire like Tom Cruise or Charlie Sheen. But I feel like any movie from that era, from the late 80s,
it was either Cruise or
one of those two guys. And then Peter Jackson pitched his take. Where it was like a Renaissance.
It was the Apes through the Renaissance.
Yes, where
because that's the other thing with the original trilogy is it's this original trilogy. The original series is this Ouroboros that covers different points in the.
Right? Isn't that what you're trying to say?
I mispronounce every word, David. Are we going to start correcting now?
Carry on. Yes, they keep going back and forward, right?
Right, and covering different parts in the evolution of society.
Partly because they blew up the planet halfway through the series, so they had to go back.
Yeah, the coolest thing any franchise has ever done, which is end existence on movie 2.
Right.
But yes, he wanted to make his Renaissance the age of thinking.
He got Roddy McDowall on board. Apparently, he excitedly told an executive this, and they were like, "Who's Roddy McDowall?" He was like, "You may not be the people I want to work with on this."
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
So he went back to Heavenly Creatures.
Right.
Then, Raimi and Stone are circled for like an early 90s. Jesus, Oliver Stone said, it has the discovery of chronologically frozen Vedic apes who hold the secret numeric codes to the Bible that foretold the end of civilizations.
Sure.
The apes like wrote the Bible?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Apparently that script's supposed to be great. They paid Oliver Stone like $1 million or
$1 million, I think,
to be a producer and co-writer, I think hoping he would eventually direct it.
Yeah.
And they get Arnold on board.
Schwarzenegger gets on board.
Pending his approval of directors. So now the film's stuck in this thing where they know they have Schwarzenegger and they know they want to do a new Planet of the Apes. And they're trying to find the right director and the right script for that combination.
Right.
Which kind of sounds like a home run in like 1993.
For sure.
Cameron considers it. Philip Noyce goes pretty far on it.
Yes.
Ridley Scott considered it at one point.
He decides to go make The Saint.
Right.
Philip Noyce. Ridley Scott,
But it was one of those things where like Cameron was thinking about doing it before Titanic. Then when he thought Titanic was going to bomb, he was getting into it. Then when Titanic did so well.
A Fox executive called Dylan Sellers apparently felt the script could be more comedic. And he pitched something where like the apes are playing baseball, but they don't have a pitcher.
Right. It was one of those things where he was like, they're apes, put them in human clothes. Why aren't they doing funny stuff?
Do you want to remake Ed the movie?
I was just about to say, is this how we wound up with Ed?
I literally
was just about to say. Tell me that this man greenlit Ed.
The businessman, but instead of smoking cigars, are smoking bananas. Come on, I can write this shit myself. Then Sellers, who was the main development executive on it,
in a car crash.
killed another man in a drunk driving accident.
And he like went to jail.
Yes.
Yeah.
He killed both the other driver and another Fox exec who was in his passenger seat, went to jail. Production sort of got halted. Everything that he had been pushing forward.
Right.
So I think now they're at like 99, and it's been like 10 years of trying to make a Planet of the Apes movie. Donald Schwarzenegger seems like that's slipping away.
One of my favorite things is they brought on Chris Columbus and did a test of ape skiing. No one knows why.
That was the crazy thing is like every time they brought in a new director, and these were like the biggest directors of the 90s in different genres, there would always be a Fox executive who was like, can you have them do a ballet? Like they like come up with all these ideas about like it's about the dawn of like the computer.
Right.
You know, like everyone was coming in with these like big theological ideas and they'd be like, cool.
What if the ape hosted a talk show?
Right. And it feels like every version of the movie is getting halted at that gap between like a heady director wanting to say something about human like society and a Fox executive wanting to have an ape do something an ape shouldn't do.
Well, based on the finished product here, it's pretty clear who eventually won out.
Right.
It was the executive.
100%.
Yes.
Because there's so much shit in this movie that just feels like Tim Burton like threw his hands up.
It's just generic. It's like someone eventually said, let's make The Matrix with apes.
Yes.
It is crazy, though. It's like Columbus drops out to make Jingle All the Way. Like, even being involved with this was a bad idea.
Yes.
It would curse your later project.
I mean, this is a true monkey paw situation.
Schwarzenegger goes to make Eraser. Michael Bay turns down the job. The Hughes brothers want to make it, but they're busy making From Hell. Peter Jackson is getting famous and is still not interested.
Yeah.
William Broyles Jr. writes the script that we now know. Which then gets, polished by Connor and Rosenthal, who have the other credit. How they wrote Burton in, I really have no fucking idea. Like, I don't know why Burton gets to be like the 14th director involved.
We had, I want to see if I can find the username so I can credit him properly. But someone, one of our Blinkies on the Reddit, wrote a really, really good piece in the Batman Returns thread.
Okay.
About how, like, and it made me think about this in a different way. About, like, we all, like, sit around and go, like, what happened to Tim Burton? Like, where's the moment? Why did it all sort of turn off? Why did these films start to feel less and less, like, sort of adept or
personal.
Passionate, personal, any of that?
Right.
And he made this argument that, like, Ed Wood, Edward Scissorhands, and Batman Returns are like this perfect triptych of everything that guy sort of has to say in his heart about like how he feels, how he views society, how we treat others. And that after that, he's just sort of like, what more do I have to say?
Right.
So people offer me things and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I guess monkeys, that sounds cool.
Right.
Like
there's like the Rolling Stones doing the endless tours. They've done all their material, and
Right.
now it's just like, I'm going to play the hits.
Right, but for him, it just becomes like, oh, there's an element I haven't done before. Monkeys are cool. I liked that book
The
growing
makeup,
up.
sure,
Right,
sure.
whatever
Makeup's
the
gonna
thing
be
is.
fun.
Right, but then when he signs on, I think everyone just goes like, well, it's Tim Burton. He must know what he's doing. He must have a take on this. So they were saying like no actor they could get to sign on would once they read the script, no actor would want to do this movie.
Right.
And Mark Wahlberg pointedly didn't read the script, went to a meeting with Tim Burton, and after 5 minutes said, look, I just want to work with you. I'll do whatever you want to do.
Sure, which is not unfair for him to do at the time, right?
No, and certainly like Mark Wahlberg finds success when he works with strong directors.
Right.
You could
Usually,
see him
right.
going like, I trust you. You know how to use people. You'll know how to use me.
Right.
But it's clear that I think everyone threw to Burton, like, there must be some sort of guiding principle. There must be some take he's got on this.
Right.
And also the execs came in with a bunch of notes, and he's just like, I just got totally lost in the thing. We started production like 9 months before it was going to come out. The whole thing was rushed. I didn't have time to figure it out.
Right. There was something where it had to come out whenever it came. Right.
This
like,
is one of the first, like, we've marked out these release dates.
Yeah.
We can't give it up.
It was being rewritten while they were like building the sets. You know, it's everything you don't want to do on a movie.
And like the
this
sets
scale,
in this
you know?
movie make no sense. Like until they get to the desert.
Excuse me, I think this world is very plausible. What are you talking about? No, go
Until
on.
they get to the desert, you're just like, I don't understand the layout of the city. I don't understand if we're indoors or outdoors.
How many of them are there?
Right.
Are they
totally invert the original movie, where the original movie starts in the middle of nowhere.
Correct.
And you get a sense, you feel like you're on a weird planet.
Right.
And then this one starts in like a really ridiculous looking set with like lots of green leaves, and you're just like, I'm not on a Planet of the Apes. I'm on a backlot of the Fox studio. Like it has no until like the second half of the movie where they go outside.
Right.
Yeah, it looks totally
but
fake.
You say like until they go outside, like all the stuff that's shot on sound stages, they build the sets in a way and light them so that they look like interiors.
Yeah.
So you're just like, is this ostensibly the town square? Am I seeing the outside of buildings, or is this like the inside of an anthill?
Right.
Like, are they all living like inside some
clear.
giant, super unclear. But yeah, the original Planet of the Apes, I don't think you see an ape until like 48 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you start on the spaceship, he crash lands, he wakes up, he's out of sorts. There's a lot of Charlton Heston just like in the desert trying to figure out where he
Where to
is.
go.
That score is so good in that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like this weird, like castaway, like, you know, like Robinson Crusoe on Mars, like Survivor movie until the apes come in. And this, it's like, it gets to the ape shit really fast.
Sure.
You have no understanding of how their society works.
And never receive any.
Right.
No.
And Tim Burton at this point is like, you know, if there's one thing you could say his films are really about, it's like him trying to make sense of like human behavior, right? This anthropological thing of like, he doesn't understand people who are like confident and feel comfortable acting normal, living in their like controlled, acceptable ways, you know, normal jobs and polite conversation and all of that.
Right.
And so you go like, I guess maybe like that's what's attracting him here, is making a movie that's like really looking at society in an anthropological way. But then there's no real take to like...
Well, they're in the city for about 20, 25 minutes.
And you just get this one shitty dinner party.
Yeah, the one scene that did kind of feel like a Tim Burton movie.
But is also so at odds with the tone of everything else in this movie.
Right. But then it just becomes like a chase movie where they're just wandering around and people are chasing them.
Right.
So all the stuff that people love about Planet of the Apes, which is like the satire, the commentary on society, there's almost none of it in this movie.
None of it. This movie has no commentary, which is the thing above all else you would expect Tim Burton to have.
Right. So like that's what I'm saying. Like the thing that you're looking for in this movie, and I'm going, yeah, that does sound like a Tim Burton movie.
Right.
It's not in the movie.
Right, because like even like Dark Shadows, it's like, well, he still is coming from that perspective of like, I don't
Dark
understand
Shadows,
behavior.
yes.
People are weird.
Not one goth ape.
Not one goth ape. You have those teens who look like they're smoking an ape bong.
Yes.
True.
And they're wearing leather jackets and sort of like dancing
Yeah, that's true.
on a street corner. There's Rick Baker plays that hookah ape. You know when they roll the cart and he's taking a big puff. That's the other thing, is like every background ape in this movie is giving a performance that feels like it would fit in like a theme park stunt show. Like is just like jockeying
You're
for
on, like
attention.
a dark ride, right?
Right, and they're
exactly,
just going so huge, like trying to be the one who stands out in the shot. There's no sort of cohesion to like what the language is of the apes, because they're stuck in this weird nether zone of like, so are we making them like really feral?
Right.
Are they like all fours crawling around and they just have like verbal intelligence?
and like Roman armor.
Right, because in the originals, they're like totally bipedal, normal, like anthropomorphic people with ape faces.
You really believed apes could have meetings. That's the Black Books joke. Yeah. Yes. It's such a, well, it's a quieter, talkier movie. But of course it was the 60s.
Right.
Now we're in the 2000s, baby.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
So it's like he wants to make this like vicious, violent thing, but it's not an action movie.
Not a successful one,
no.
anyway.
I mean, as we were talking about more gently in the Batman Returns episode, Burton's skill is not with action itself.
Right. No.
It's not a particularly thrilling action director. The action in this movie is that people jump up and down.
That's the thing. It's like,
is that it? I mean, I'm trying to think. Is there any others?
It's a lot of jumping.
And it's so much jumping.
Wire work.
And people, like you said before, like people like giving someone a glancing blow and they fly 40 feet into the air.
Right.
And I don't think Tim Roth climbs a horse normally one time in the movie. Like he only gets on a horse, which he does like 12 times in the movie.
Does a lot.
With like a wire work jump where he goes like, ah!
Yes.
Like literally, that's how he does it every time.
He is the worst. I mean, not Tim Roth. I mean, I like Tim Roth, but
Fade
like,
as a character.
Fade is bad.
Yeah.
Like worst dinner party guest. You
Terrible.
know, like the senator has him over. He's
Very
rude.
rude.
He's mean. And he's like, I love you, Ari. And he's a creep.
Is there a soul in it?
But that's what I'm saying. Like his characterization is so different. Every actor is in their own movie in this thing.
That's true.
Yes.
Where it's just like, you know.
Right, because it's like, are the apes sort of do they have like a sort of samurai culture? Because there's some sort of Asian influence to some of the design and stuff. And then it's like, no, are they like Rome? Is this like ancient Rome? And or they're just sort of like, I think the production
sometimes
decides
it feels like
know,
they're like
toss
Pacific
a little
Islanders.
column A, right?
Like they're in this sort of like Caribbean sort of like.
Right.
It doesn't make
Whatever.
any sense. The original movie, the one other big difference we haven't really talked about is that in this movie, the humans can talk, which is another thing that I think could be interesting.
Sure.
And it could almost make the sort of the racial metaphors more like interesting and overt, because then it's like in the first movie, the humans are like, they're like animals in the first movie. So it's
and they're
like,
all mute, and it's a big deal that
totally
he's the
like
first
devolved.
human
they're
who's
devolved.
like,
and so like treating them like pets, you can sort of wrap your mind around that. But in this movie, they're like literally saying like, oh, they don't have like the apes are like they don't have souls, the humans. But you're like, well, they're talking and they're like you have to be like fully racist to think like that, which I think again could be interesting.
But
in
the movie's not making any point. It has no insight into
again,
like
it's
systemic
totally-
racism.
Right, that's what I'm saying, like,
right. Inhuman, like you're just like, yeah, they suck. Or you're Ari and you're like, the humans should live.
Tim Burton isn't equipped to say anything about that.
Sure. Right. He might be a bad director for what you're
perhaps
talking
he's the
about.
wrong
Right.
director for that Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah, but
exactly.
also he is like the right director to make a movie about like being an outsider, like being cast out from society. Like he's
But
not good at
Mark
viewing that through a
Wahlberg
racial
is
lens.
not his avatar
he's
of
the
the outsider.
worst fucking avatar for a Tim Burton movie ever.
Yeah.
So then you go like, I think he's kind of relating more to the Helena Bonham Carter character.
Sure. Well, he was definitely related
And to
Helena
Pericles.
Bonham Carter. Let me
Right.
tell you.
Yeah,
Should have
and
made
to
Pericles the main character. Did
he was
anyone else?
definitely related to
Thank
Helena
you.
Bonham Carter.
Did anyone feel like they were fucking with Pericles when they gave him a full spacesuit but no gloves?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that?
And there's also the point where like Mark Wahlberg lifts his helmet on, and you're like, aren't those things supposed to be like screwed down?
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be an airlock. He
that-
takes it off like it's a propeller cap.
That's like it's like a Halloween costume. It's not doing anything for
It's
him.
not doing anything for him.
Like who decided? You know,
makes
it'd be
it
funny.
feel like a big boy
Let's
pilot.
Just for us.
Just for
us.
Just
let's
for
put him in
shits.
the little costume. And I also love that he like pilots the ship. Like I get putting like an animal in a ship if you don't want to put a human inside it, and you need a
No, but it's like a ship with like
he's like
controls.
pulling levers. Who let the ape? Who thought that was a good idea? Like, we trained him. It's okay, guys. He's been training to go into the purple cloud. We trained him.
This fucking movie.
Just remote control it. I don't
Just
understand.
remote control
Just
it.
remote control it.
They put him into the purple cloud. He vanishes within 1 second. Wahlberg's reaction to this is not like, that purple cloud seems
that's
dangerous.
unfortunate.
Like,
Oh, well.
Right, like he's just sort of
His
at his
reaction
constant
is
going
like-
like, here we go
and then
into the purple cloud.
what happens? Immediately he gets sucked into a time warp, and he's like, "Hey, what's happening?" Like, I don't know. Maybe the experiment you just witnessed could have given you some clues.
All the people who were like, do not leave the ship were correct.
Right.
You've made a tactical error.
Oh God!
Right, and he doesn't want to be shirtless, so his spacesuit catches on fire, and then he just wears like it's
artfully distressed.
the
Yes.
tattered inner lining,
Yeah,
which looks like a
looks
fucking
like a
Urban
rag.
Outfitters raglan.
It has a very like Urban Outfitters
Yes,
quality to
yes.
it. It really does.
Ding dong.
Get the door.
Ding dong. I can hear a faint echo from the other side of the door even before I open it. 25, 26. Let me crank. 27. 28.
Who's this diminutive cloaked figure?
29. 30. 30 movies available to watch on the movie.
Hello, Count.
I am the Count Von Count.
Count Von Count. I always thought of it as more of an
Well, for today it is ba ba ba.
Oh yeah?
Like moo by movie. Moo ba ba ba.
Are you all right?
I'm going through a rough time.
Well, sometimes if you're going through a rough time, easy way to cheer up.
Yes.
Watch a movie.
Well, but I log on to the Netflix, the Amazon, too many movies to count.
It's sometimes the choices can be
How
overwhelming.
many
on some of
films
these
do they
sites.
have?
Well, you're right. You actually can't keep count.
I can't
You
keep
can't count that high.
count.
You can't.
And my blood pressure's been high. As I said, I haven't been feeling well. My doctor told me I need to reduce stress. Ba ba ba.
Movies got a whole different vibe.
What?
They have 30 movies
30.
up on the site
I just
or
counted
the
30.
app. Yeah, you just counted to 30.
Yes.
You can choose between any of the movies there. They're curated. They're often themed. Maybe it's a Sundance takeover or a Berlin Film Festival theme or some director. They had a Catherine Bigelow series recently.
But wait, David, if they have 30 movies, that means they never lose a movie or they never gain a new movie. It's the same 30 movies at all times?
I mean, that's one way of thinking about it. But no, movie does the other thing, which is that every day one movie goes away, but one movie gets added.
Like a revolving door.
Sure, like a constantly moving film festival.
One door. One. Ba, ba, ba.
And are we talking like cult classics to award-winning masterpiece, forgotten gems to festival fresh independent releases? Like hard to find.
Are you detecting a fart?
No,
Are there any fart house films? Give
from
me
hard
examples.
to find to never heard of that before. Wow, this sounds fun.
What about any Volker Schlondorf films?
Of course.
I'm a huge fan of Volker Schlondorf, director of the Teen Drum.
Okay, well, they've got Return to Montauk, his 2017 movie, set in the Hamptons, I believe.
What a
with
lovely
Stellan
coincidence.
Skarsgård, Nina Haas from Phoenix. Love that movie.
Oh, he shows his penis a lot on film. One penis, two balls, two.
What else they got right now? They got Diary of a Country Priest, but then they also have like Queen of Earth by Alex Ross Perry, Black Tide, Eric Zonka's movie, all kinds of weird stuff you've heard of, stuff you haven't heard of, stuff that's worth trying. And our listeners can get 30-day trial.
30-day trial. 30-day trial.
At movie.com/check. That's MUBI.com/check. Whole month of great cinema for free.
How many months?
And there are no ads ever.
How many months for free?
Well, it's 1 month.
One.
Right. I mean, yeah, depending on your month. 30 days.
Okay, I'm going to leave now. See how many steps it takes to leave the studio.
He looked bad.
Doesn't look
I
good.
told you my blood pressure is high. It's stress.
I've heard some rumors.
My doctor tells me I should retire, but
Wait, are you saying Count's canceled?
if I stop working. What? Wait, what did you hear?
No, nothing. Get out of here.
Step 2. Step 3. Step 4. David, I think we should just keep recording because he's walking very slowly.
Fair enough. Okay, let's
on
just
with the
keep
episode. Step 5.
As you were saying, Matt, the original, there is this interesting yin-yang thing where, like, he's looking at them as an outsider being like, I can't believe apes can talk.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at him the same way.
Exactly.
Like, they've never seen a human speaking before.
Right.
So there's not, like, I wouldn't say uneasy alliance, but even, like, Dr. Zaius, who's, like, more of an antagonist character, isn't, like, trying to hunt him down and kill him. Like, society is trying to make sense of this guy.
Right.
And this guy's just trying to find answers. And this is, like, just this weird, like, slave master situation that's also, like, verging on a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just keep on, like, but then there's also the thing. I mean, you have, like, the sort of, like, the house humans,
Right.
Which
they
is
do
just
mention
like-
that.
right?
It's a lot to be playing
A
around with.
lot to be playing around with.
And to play around with it so briefly and sort of
so briefly.
so like half-heartedly and like
Right.
then they just hand wave it away and never
Right.
bring it up ever again.
And then
Never
there's
bring it up.
that point
Eric
where,
Avari, I believe. is
right,
the-
where Mark Wahlberg is like, who are all these people? Where'd they come from? And it's like,
He's
they've
pretty-
heard about you. And it's like, wait, they just left the house? I thought they were all in cages? Like, how were they all able to just, like, freely come and meet Mark Wahlberg?
He's also very nonplussed about the whole talking apes thing. Like
Right.
he's not
Yeah.
that phased.
He's not that fake. He's like,
At all.
It's like, I mean,
He
I
has the one
knew a
line.
monkey that could pilot a spaceship, so I guess this
Right.
is fine, not a big deal.
Right, it just feels like he doesn't want to
it's almost like
engage-
he's seen Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
And he's like, this is like different,
I
but
think I'm
kind
in
of the
that
same.
I think I'm in that movie.
But it has the contempt of, like, him being like, yeah, no, I know. It's one of those fucking nerdy situations, right? What is it, some fucking time bubble or some
I
shit?
don't want to ask too many fucking questions. Where's my ship? Fuel cells okay. Okay, let's get out of here.
I'm trying. No, when I said before, like I was
Oh,
watching this
boy.
and I was trying to think of find another like hero in an action movie who that's not like Big Trouble in Little China where that's part of the joke,
Right.
Like who's less effective and causes more problems. Like he
I
literally
don't think there is
causes
one.
the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
We find out
Yes.
later he is the reason it exists.
Yeah.
And then
it's a total time like causal thing.
Yes,
like, it's a
which fine. I don't really have a problem with that, but just like he doesn't help anyone.
No.
And like they
No.
literally at the end of the movie they say, "Please stay.
Yeah.
You could do so much good if you stay." And he's like, "I am getting the fuck out of here."
Which way is space?
And you're watching my friend Pericles. I'm leaving him behind.
But that's the thing. Pericles arriving,
Yes.
which he does by himself
Yes.
through his competent piloting
He
of
can
the
control the
spaceship.
ship, so it's no big deal.
He lands the spaceship
Perfectly.
effectively.
That's my one.
Wahlberg crashes it into a
That's
lake.
the one joke in the movie that works
Right.
is that Wahlberg always crashes the ship
Yeah.
and he can actually land the
Right,
thing, which
right.
is pretty funny.
It
You
is
go,
good.
okay, so the weird time loop with this movie is, right, there's this one purple cloud that, like, distorts space and time,
This
right?
purple cloud's no good, by the way.
But then it seems like it's a specific, like, two-way, like, it's
Sure,
a
it's a-
link between just these two planets,
Sure,
right?
Right.
But time distorts when you go through it. So Mark Wahlberg, Pericles goes through it first.
Yeah.
Then Mark Wahlberg goes through it. He lands.
Yeah.
Then a day later, Pericles lands.
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that.
Right.
When he lands
48
later,
hours.
a day or two
yeah,
later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, but they're landing in the year 2050.
Right. But
Whatever.
my point is, they
Like,
both land within
Like
48 hours of each
25
other
something.
Yes.
within a future year.
Yes.
But they find that the mothership
The mothership
has
crash
also gone through the
landed.
cloud and landed hundreds of years ago.
Thousands. They say
They
thousands.
say thousands. So the time, don't even think about the year. But yes, they say thousands.
Right,
Thousands
so
of years.
What are the odds that Pericles and Mark Wahlberg land so closely within each other?
And that he
right?
lands like in the middle of the big climactic battle.
But
Right,
you say,
but
no,
then
no,
he
but
goes-
this cloud is purple, so it's prediction. It's hard to figure out what it's doing,
But then he goes back through the cloud.
Yeah.
Spoilers, and somehow Thade got his own spaceship.
Look, the ending will get to the end.
Okay.
That's going to require
That's going to be its
further
own separate
thought.
episode.
But I just want to point out, as I was like, Pericles lands. He lands all by himself.
Perfectly.
He's like a big boy.
Yeah.
When he,
Good boy, Pericles.
when
Good
he
boy.
lands,
Right, the Olympic judges all give him fives. Perfect landing.
when he lands, literally the sight of him heals all tensions between man and ape on the
Yes.
planet of the apes.
Because they think
They think
he's
he's the
the
god.
he's their original,
But he's
god.
not. The
No,
actual
he's
god
just
was
a
one of the
fucking
other
chimp.
apes
Sure.
in the.
But
right?
he's
Yeah.
one of them, so right,
Yeah.
So just his arrival solves all the problems.
Yeah.
Right, solves like every problem.
Right.
that
It's like a
there has
Braveheart
been.
full-on battle scene, and it all just instantly stops.
Yes.
Right.
If
At,
Mark
at
Wahlberg-
the Kalima, right? Isn't that what's called the
Yeah,
Caution Live
the
Animals?
Caution Live Animals,
right.
exactly. If Mark Wahlberg had just crashed his ship and like a tree had gone through his head and he was just dead and not in the movie, and then one day later Pericles had landed,
Would have
Yeah.
made no difference.
all would have been solved. Less people would have died. There
Less
would have been a
people would have
stupid
died.
war in the desert,
Yeah.
right?
Chris Christopherson's totally alive.
Right,
Exactly.
okay, so there's no answer to this question.
Sure.
I know there's no good answer to this question,
Okay.
right? But this is what I ask. When Eric Avari is like, they all came here to see you.
Yeah.
And you're going like, wait, were they all slaves? Did they all individually escape, or were they all free? Because it feels like Estella Warren, the boy, and Chris Christopherson are representing like human survivors. Like they're like the leave no trace. Where like we're living off the grid. Are there tribes of humans who are just independently like traveling around the forest looking for freedom, or are all humans enslaved or about to be enslaved? You know?
These are good questions.
They're
Right.
very good. I would love to see a
The
movie
movie
that
has-
answered
Right.
these questions.
Because in the original,
No
it's
interest
clear
in
that it's
answering
just
them,
like
right.
there are no independent humans.
Right. Humans in the originals are just animals.
And
as
you get
say.
in this that Giamatti's like going around with his big net, like trying to catch them constantly.
his big net and his like H&M blue blazer.
Right, I like that. Like Giamatti makes a strong choice, which is like this guy sucks. And he said that he and Burton read the script, and there was
Right, the
supposed to be a
script, he's
third
supposed to be
act,
good at
like,
the
he
end.
learns to be
Right,
good, and they were like,
right.
"That sucks. He should just still be a piece of
Right.
shit."
Why would he be good?
He should sell kids aspirin.
Yeah.
which is
That's
the
a nice
only good
note.
joke in the movie.
Yeah, it's a nice note.
Yeah.
He's unrepentant, which is
Yeah.
fun. I mean, yeah, he really is. He's the one person who really looks like he's having fun. Like, in
it's
stark,
a great performance.
in stark contrast to like
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg, who looks so miserable. He is like just chewing up the scenery,
And
having a
he
grand old time.
Is working that makeup so
Yeah,
well. Like
he
you
is,
can
yes.
tell he's got the sort of discipline to like spend every day looking in the mirror and testing out how to get his expressions through
the teeth.
the
He's got
thing.
the incredible
He's
bad
working
teeth.
it. Yeah.
Terrific.
His voice is perfect coming out of an
Yep,
ape.
yep.
He was the only person from the cast who said he wanted to do a sequel.
Right.
And when
But
they
he
asked
wanted
him
the
about it,
sequel, you can tell.
he wanted like the Fox executive thing. He's like, yeah, of course we should make a sequel. I don't know. I want to see like apes in like an office meeting or something.
Let me find the exact quote.
Like apes having like a business lunch.
Yeah, Kalima. I can't not think of Temple of Doom every time they say it in this movie.
Kalima.
Every single time. Had they never seen Temple of Doom? No.
Apes driving cars and smoking cigars, wearing glasses, sitting in a boardroom, stuff like that.
Again, I would totally see that movie.
Sure.
It sounds like a much better movie than this movie.
There was a series of like live action shorts that they would play before movies in like the 30s and 40s called Dogville.
Okay.
Unrelated to the Lars Van Trier thing.
Right.
That is just like horrible animal abuse, but is incredible to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Where the entire thing is we make dogs do human things. So they're like, it's a big day at the dog restaurant. And they're all these dogs who are in costumes, like tied to chairs, sitting at like a dinner table. And then they've trained a dog to like carry a tray and walk and pretend he's a waiter. And it feels like Fox just wanted to make that.
Right.
Like, can we just have apes do things? Like, that will be interesting to people.
Well, if there was a Planet of the Apes,
They'd be doing those things.
Yeah, they'd be doing those things.
Yeah. So maybe they were right and Tim Burton was wrong.
I don't know. I don't think he was wrong because I don't think he made a choice.
Right. In the absence of the goofy shit you're talking about, they have substituted kind of nothing. Like,
absolutely
that's the
nothing.
problem.
Generic, matrixy action.
They ride horses. They have kind of like
bad wire
helmets,
fights.
conehead helmets. There's some wire work.
So bad.
Some swords.
The moment I wanted to talk about was when Wahlberg gets the gun. And then the movie, like, that's like a moment where now, like, he's got power.
Yes.
Right.
And then the monkey just breaks
Instantly
it.
destroys
and then they
it.
just move on.
Yes.
And it made me so mad seeing it again now because
Right.
I haven't watched it since it was in theaters.
No, you don't rewatch it annually?
No. I hate it. I hate this movie. I hate hearing you guys talk about it.
I don't like talking about it.
But that sucks. That is like such an obvious moment to like let Mark Wahlberg character now have like some power against the monkeys, but they're just like, no, we're gonna take that away.
It's why I think the Charlton Heston scene is kind of interesting because it's almost an idea, and it's almost an idea that's original to this movie. Because in the original series, all the apes have guns, right?
Yeah,
they have.
They're more advanced in general.
Yeah, but they have like rifles and they have pistols.
Right.
They also have nets and like like billy clubs. Like they have all types of weapons.
Sure.
But firearms are not a thing that they have not figured out.
Right.
Okay, this movie is saying like humans have guns.
Right. It's saying that apes kind of their ceiling is like ancient Rome. Like that's as bad as they can have like a civilization, but it's ancient.
Right. And that's like the deep dark secret is like they figured out that humans have guns. They took the guns away from the humans and have tried to rewrite history so that guns don't exist and that humans have always been a lesser species.
Right.
Because they know if humans get access to guns, the whole thing is over. Right. Which is kind of an interesting idea.
Again, if you want to dig into it.
Right. If you want to explore that is a thing you could do.
Right. And it almost then like gets in this thing of like, were the apes right? Like they created a new society because they knew humans were too reliant on a destructive technology. Exactly.
It's no good.
It's no good, but you're like, that's almost a hook for a screenplay.
Sure, right. But their society
Apes
sucks.
evolve, they see that guns are actually the primitive thing. And so they like, enslave humans.
Right.
Hide guns inside like very well-made artisanal fire drops.
That's where no one would look.
Yeah, where no one would look.
Because it couldn't physically be inside it.
Yeah.
But then, what's the ape society? It's like David Warner is like an old senator.
Yeah.
You don't really see like
what is the
government? What the government is.
I mean,
Thade is like in charge, but all his decisions are just like him going like, kill the humans. Like, I mean, he doesn't like have a lot of like tactics.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
No, just beating on people and jumping onto his horse very dramatically. Whee!
Right, and you're also like, is Thade viewed as like the Charles Manson of like this ape society in the way that he's just like constantly like hunched over and like sort of talking to himself about like stinking humans, dirty humans.
No,
and then,
he's the Abraham Lincoln of.
He becomes.
And then as
Abraham Lincoln.
as another indicator of the badness of Captain Leo Davidson, he doesn't defeat him or kill him. He leaves him there.
Right.
Just literally, just like when he leaves the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he just feels like it.
He leaves him in a cell.
He leaves Thade behind.
Right.
Totally fine.
Thade somehow gets access to another spaceship.
That's the only way to explain the ending, right? Is that Thade beat him there?
Yes.
He found a spaceship.
I mean, it doesn't. It's still the ending still makes no sense to me.
None.
Right? Like, now there's some sort of DVD insert. Who was telling me about?
I was telling you about this. We talked about it in one of the commentary
Yeah.
episodes, but the DVD literally came with a paper insert
That explains this because the movie does not.
Has a timeline and shows like wormhole like physics.
Well,
and
explain it.
I cannot tell you. I mean, David, if you want to look it
Trying
up.
to find it. Yeah.
Supposedly, like first one in, last one out is the idea.
Yeah, I mean, because
But I don't.
you have to believe that the purple cloud itself has some sort of governing law.
Right.
That it's not a random. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it sends
So-
people out at different times, but the times are close enough in relation to each other, and it's only a link between two different planets.
So if it was just Thade who got onto Earth, how did he make all the monkeys?
Well, we don't. Yeah,
Right.
that's one part of about 3,000 parts that makes no
Right.
sense.
There's one. All right. So there's one thing. Some people think that he doesn't make it to Earth.
Who's he?
Wahlberg.
Okay.
He just goes in the purple cloud and then goes into the future of
This is the more
This
evolved.
planet.
of the same planet.
The same
Right.
planet of the Apes. Except we see, like,
I know. I mean, when he left, they were all like, "And we'll never fight again."
but
And
also,
Thade
I'm pretty
sucks.
sure in that. I mean, at the end of the movie, though, like they show Saturn and they show him
Yeah,
flying
you're
to
correct,
Earth,
correct,
and the
correct.
screen on
Okay,
his
well, look.
the screen on his computer says
Yeah.
Earth. Like
Yeah.
you have to willfully ignore actual evidence on screen
That's
to buy
a
that
fair
theory.
point.
And I know.
I mean, Burton's thing is mostly just like, I don't know, like there needed to be room for a sequel. Like,
that
right?
was
Like
his,
that's
he
his,
was like, whoever made the next one, I was going to let them figure that out. That's truly how he talks about it.
Yep.
A friend of the show, Alex Ross Perry, has pointed out, he texted both of us knowing we were going to do this episode,
Yes.
that in fact the original book ends in a way that's very similar to this.
Sure.
The original book is very different. I believe it's apostolatory.
Sure. The epistolary. You mean
Yeah,
letters?
epistolary, sorry, another word I mispronounced. Right.
It's
very different from the
I've never read
original
book.
film.
Pierre
Boulle.
Boulle.
Pierre Boulle.
Yes. Let's see. They fly back to Earth and they are greeted by a field officer who is a gorilla.
Yeah.
Is at the end of the book.
They should throw this movie out.
Yeah, they should.
But I mean,
They should drag it into the garbage on their desktop and
Even-
delete.
even
Forever.
even if you
Yes.
even if you sort of accept, okay, well, if you go into the cloud first, that doesn't mean you're going to come out first, or yada yada yada.
Right.
It doesn't really explain how Thade would get so far back in time. But let's just accept.
No,
let's
right.
just accept that he does. Like, even if Thade is able to find a spaceship inside the desiccated 1,000-year-old ruins of this thing that they
Right.
also explode at one point.
Yeah.
Like, let's say he finds a spaceship, it works. He uses it. He goes back to the past. He creates this alternate timeline where apes are now in charge of Earth.
Uh-huh.
That still requires Mark Wahlberg, when he comes there, of all the places on Earth to crash land.
Yes.
He literally lands at the Lincoln Memorial,
Right.
which is now the Thade Memorial.
Yes.
Just so they can have a riff on the Statue of
Correct.
Liberty.
Now that you
I
put it that
call
way,
it
it
the
sounds
Thade
really
Memorial
good.
to this day.
Yeah, I call it the Thade.
I'd call it the Thade Memorial.
Yeah.
If I'm there.
right.
Yeah. No, that's the Thade Memorial.
Yeah.
You mean in our world?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Thade Memorial.
That's the
Fair.
Thade Memorial.
That's fair.
All right. Here is a DVD. Here's an explanation.
Okay.
Time on Earth and time on Apes planet move in opposite directions.
David's using his hands.
Okay.
Because
hands
the
are moving.
storm moves in opposite directions. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So that's why the Oberon lands, the space station lands like first, and then Leo, and then Pericles. Even though
So
they
the
went,
more time that passes in between the people who go through the cloud, the further it sends them apart from each other.
exactly. So it's like even if Leo technically goes through the cloud first, like some other apes go through the cloud later, but they land earlier, like because of
So like
you know, you see it's opposite. Oh, Ben's
gotta go to
leaving.
the bathroom.
if Wahlberg goes into the cloud,
He's tapping out. He's tapping out.
if Wahlberg goes into the
Has
cloud,
this ever happened?
Yeah,
Sure.
yes, definitely, many times.
We're very tiresome.
Yeah, he wants the show to end in general. If Wahlberg goes into the cloud 5 minutes after Pericles does, in the law of ape time lasting
time
longer.
continuum.
Yes.
Ape time is slower
Newton's first ape time
and
law.
backwards.
The ape time continuum.
Right, means that he lands 48 hours earlier, so you
Sure.
go by transitive property.
Right.
If the mothership goes in like a day or two after Wahlberg, that would be thousands of years.
Right.
And if somehow, like, the only way they could kind of explain it is if in the sequel, Wahlberg goes back to the original planet and then Thade takes his spaceship.
Yeah. Sure.
But that's so asking another movie to clean up your mess.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to find this DVD insert.
It's
like
kind
the
of like, you know,
actual-
it is a little, it is sort of evocative of like the part of Back to the Future 2 where he shows up in Evil 1985.
Right.
If you didn't like explain how any of it worked, or you showed Biff in the time machine, or you did any of that stuff, and you just stopped the movie right there.
And also, to Ben's point, when the mothership lands on the ape planet,
It's this the
Right, there
DVD
you
insert
go.
is
That's what it
doing what I'm describing, which is it's showing how like the later you leave on one end, the earlier you
come
arrive on
back
the other, because as this DVD insert boldly proclaims, time does not travel in a straight line through an electromagnetic storm.
Could you imagine just
Mark Wahlberg wants to take this thing's lunch money. This insert's lunch money.
Maybe I misunderstood though. Doesn't the Oberon or the spaceship that we're somehow going to have in 10 years, because the human part of the movie is set in 2029?
Yeah, can't wait.
Doesn't that ship go in as a result of Wahlberg's?
Yes, they're trying to find Wahlberg.
So how did they wind up, if they only went in, I'm going to assume, at best, days or weeks after he goes in, how did they wind up thousands of years ago?
Well, that's the idea, is that time moves so much slower that if Wahlberg goes in 5 minutes after Pericles, that
it's
results
2
in him being
days.
2 days earlier.
Okay. All right.
So by transitive property.
I'm going to pretend I understand
I think
what
that's
you're saying.
the idea.
Yes.
But to Ben's point, the Oberon goes in, and they have all the apes that they've been like experimenting on.
Sure.
So that's enough of a species that if it lands over thousands of years can evolve into an entire race.
Yes.
But
and learn how to talk?
Right.
Sure.
You go over time if Thade, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you go, how did Thade get? I don't know. This is futile.
Well, no, but what do you mean? Because, like, clearly, yeah, as long as you landed on Earth at a specific moment, you would have Jeeps and Lincoln Memorials and Washington Malls. Everything would be the same except for apes.
That's the thing, because the ape culture is so radically different.
Yeah. Right. Right. Why would all of a sudden the ape culture that was firmly developed on ape planets?
You know what it's like.
Go ahead.
Bear City. Do you remember Bear City?
No.
Bear City was an SNL sketch. It was like a pre-digital short thing in the early 2000s. I think it was made T-Shawn Shannon. And it was Bear City was like their riff on Planet of the Apes, where the bears got smart and they decided to kill all the humans. But they just took over doing what humans were doing.
Sure.
They didn't rebuild society.
Right.
They just put on humans' clothes and then just started doing their best impressions of how humans act.
Right.
Because it seems like apes have different enough brains that they wouldn't be like, and of course this is what a police uniform looks like.
No, it's just like they kept the National Mall.
Right.
Like, you know, by and large.
Right.
I just feel like it's so instructive too.
The Washington Monument's still like there. It looks exactly the same.
I feel like it's very instructive, though, to compare like this movie with the original one when you're comparing the endings, which they very clearly were like, well, that one has the Statue of Liberty, so this one we got to have some kind of monument.
And we gotta have something crazy happen at the end.
But like it's got to be a shocking moment.
Yeah.
But the end of Planet of the Apes explains everything.
Yes.
That is the moment that makes it all make
That's
sense.
why it's a well-regarded ending.
And this movie is the moment where you're like, what the fuck? Like, what?
And they start explaining it earlier because you have the little girl doll, which he's trying to make sense of, and
There are
Zaius is like, you're
clues.
not going to like the answer.
Sure, it's not right. It's not like it comes
You
out of
might
no.
think that we should all be damned to hell. Honestly,
You may just yet damn us all
Well,
to
that's the
hell.
other thing too. Like it ends with Heston having his moment of like, oh no, like
Right, but you need that rather than Wahlberg just
That's
looking
what I'm
like.
saying. Like, well,
Wahlberg's like,
in
"Oh,
contrast,
what's going on?
Yeah,
What's
right.
going on?
What do you mean, yeah, to Sam Adams? Like it's that level of like confusion. I mean, the fact that apes have rebuilt the Abraham Lincoln Memorial.
yeah, it's not even like shock. It's more just like kind of it's just like
What?
I
didn't know it was that late. It's that sort of like.
I think I got it.
You got it.
You figured it out.
You went to the bathroom and you cracked this movie.
Cracked it.
What made you crack it? Taking a shit?
Taking a piss.
Okay.
he goes to the planet, right? He's on Earth. It's
planet.
all Mark Wahlberg's now. It's Planet of the Wahlbergs.
This is your rewrite. It should be Planet of the Mars.
That's the better ending.
Oh, I see.
And then he's just like, oh, this rules. And then they're just like,
oh yeah.
He high-fives the cop.
Wahlburgers for all.
Yeah.
America is just an endless line of Wahlburgers.
The United States of Wahlberg.
I don't know. I mean, you and I have both talked about, David, how weird this phenomenon is, because this is one of the last times where like a movie made a ton of money,
right?
And the studio was like, we probably shouldn't make a sequel.
Right. The studio was wisely like, we got out of this with our hides. You know, like we got out of this thing, made a profit.
Right.
There's nothing to complain about.
We can't fool them twice.
Literally, like probably, I mean, got a B- cinema score, which is pretty bad for a big blockbuster. And like, it's just obviously no one wants, whatever.
Other than Paul Giamatti.
You're right.
Nobody else
meetings
wants a
of
sequel.
the Planet of the Apes.
But they let it rest 10 years and then came with the most different interpretation possible.
And when they released that one, I was like, what are they thinking? Like, this thing looks like a disaster. They picked a nobody director for it. They picked James Franco as their
Frida
top
Pinto.
liner, and Frida Pinto, John Lithgow.
Yeah.
And then it did pretty well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a sensation, but did pretty well.
But like for a late August movie, and then it got really good reviews. Because they weren't screening it until the last second. Everyone's like, this is going to be a fucking disaster. And then I remember like the embargo going up like 12 hours before the movie came out. People being like, this thing's actually really well directed.
Right. It's, whatever happened to Rupert Wyatt?
He did The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg. He took a big gamble on what?
He sure did. And then, like, it's just interesting to me because it's like, you don't automatically make a sequel to that one either.
No.
It grossed less than the Burton.
Yeah.
But that movie was good enough, I guess, that they were like, now we can probably get a good sequel out of this. And they were right.
They were correct.
Yeah. And, sometimes Fox executives are right, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
I mean, like Batman Begins is a similar thing where when you actually look at the numbers, that movie was not very profitable because it cost a lot.
Right.
And it didn't make a ton because I think there was still the post-Batman and Robin sting.
Yeah.
But they just knew, like, we're onto something here, doubled down, and then, like, Dark Knight explodes.
Right.
But this was the opposite. And, like, you hear now, like, really, like, James Gunn is, like, going to do Suicide Squad.
Right.
Like, they feel that focused on trying to make another Suicide Squad movie.
Bizarre.
Right. When they're already making a Harley Quinn movie.
Like, who wants this?
Right. Like, why do you need another one?
Again, it's like, you got out of Suicide Squad alive.
Right.
The reviews were terrible, but you made some money.
The movie made no sense at all.
You got Margot Robbie out of it, and maybe you can build something better out of that.
But I go, like, the same thing with, like, you're going to make Fantastic Beasts 3? Like, you're really...
That's different.
Yeah.
That thing's still, I think, they're just sort of like, they're locked in. Like, they're like, we cannot not make Wizarding World. Exactly.
If you were a Warner Brothers executive, wouldn't you go to J.K. Rowling and be like, you got any other ideas? we'll greenlight any other idea you have. That takes place in this universe.
I would more be interested, like, more be going to her and being like, I know you pitched us 5, but can we make this 3 movies? Like, can we wrap this up now?
Can we leave it all on the dance floor?
Yeah, like, because...
And can't that Broadway show, can't we do that as a thing, maybe?
Yes, they must be begging to do that. My God. But, like, because I believe it was a 5-movie pitch for Fantastic Beasts, right?
Supposed to be 5, I believe.
And as far as I know, Fantastic Beasts 2 was still set in the 20s or whatever, right? Right?
I didn't see it. You were the only one at this table who committed the crimes of Grindelwald, I think, right? Did you see it, Matt?
I did. I could not tell you when it was set off.
Goddamn crimes. I'm going to look it up now because, 1927. I've read the Harry Potter books. Grindelwald is defeated in 1945.
Well, that's definitely a problem for our theory that they're going to just make one more.
This is what I'm saying. It's like,
he's got a lot more crimes to commit.
Are we putting the pedal to the metal over here? Like, when Grindelwald's done some crimes, okay.
Yeah.
but like, the first one was set in 1926. So I was thinking this one would be set in like 27. I'm like, nice.
Maybe the movies are about how, like, frustrating the legal system is, that they still can't find something to pin. Like, Grindelwald's the Jeffrey Epstein of his time. He just keeps on somehow slipping through the cracks. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is a weird thing. Like, you know, because people were like, oh, that movie's a big bomb. And Fox was always like, no, it was like very profitable. It was like one of our biggest hits.
Right. It was
like,
Burton's 4th highest grossing movie ever, I believe.
Yeah, but we just knew like there wasn't a demand for a sequel. Right. And now if they've like committed to a thing being a franchise, they will push it uphill by hook or by crook. Right.
It made, let's play the box office game, $180 million. Domestic.
It's more than you would think.
362
worldwide.
Multiplied
well. Like it had a huge opening weekend.
Yeah.
For its time, it was one of the biggest opening weekends
$68 million.
I think that was maybe the number 2 opening weekend of all time after this. Because I previously said Rush Hour was the number 2, but Rush Hour 2 comes out after this and does $1 million less.
Sure.
These 2 movies do like 69 million back to back.
Right.
Right? This opens to 69?
Right.
I remember because I was 12 and I thought that was funny.
68.5.
Oh, so okay. I thought the estimates were funny, the early estimates.
And let's talk about its opening weekend. It opens number 1.
Okay. 68.
Number 2 is the third film. This is July 27th, 2001.
Right.
The third film in a big franchise.
The third film?
Yes.
Is it the final film in a big franchise?
No, but for a while it looked like it could have been. There's a long gap between the 3 and 4.
Jurassic Park 3?
That's correct. Joe Johnston's underrated.
You and I both can
rip-roaring. What is it, like 92-minute dinosaur movie? Yeah, where he's just like, can't they just go to a fucking island and there's like a bunch of dinosaurs and they run around and then they leave?
Yeah, not a perfect film, but an example of a movie that just like does the basics that it needs to do. Is a tight little thriller, gets in, gets out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, now we're besieged with the opposite of that kind of a movie.
Right.
Where it's like, it needs to be like a haunted house movie, but also about human cloning. And also there needs to be like a volcano that goes off. And
I'm not going to invoke.
Sorry, what? You're not going to what?
I'm not going to invoke the captain.
The captain. Yes.
But did you read in interviews that he said that what inspired him to make his screenplay for Fallen Kingdom that way was Bridge of Spies?
What?
That doesn't make any sense.
What would that mean?
He said that he liked that Bridge of Spies was like 2 different movies. Like each half was a different movie, and he was like, I want to try to do that. So one half is a volcano adventure, and the other half is a haunted house auction.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Number 3 is, it was like a big, it was pitched as a big comedy of the summer because of its like huge cast. It was kind of underwhelming.
America's Sweethearts?
America's Sweethearts.
Oh my gosh.
Joe Roth's America's Sweethearts.
Because this is the first year of Revolution, right? Revolution starts.
Sure.
I think
around then, anyway.
Tomcats is the first film that Revolution ever releases.
Tomcats.
I believe that's 2001, and it was a big deal that like Joe Roth is starting a new studio.
Right.
And the big thing was he made a couple people's careers, so he's going to get big movie stars to make their films
one time.
They're going to show up for him.
Sandler did it like 3 or 4 times because he gave Sandler Waterboy.
Right.
And Julia, I think, did because Mona Lisa Smile, I want to say, was Revolution too. Anyway,
let's see. It
that
was
him directing.
Him directing. Mistake.
Right.
Number 1 of many.
Yeah, and then getting.
But Billy Crystal wrote it.
Billy Crystal wrote it.
Yep.
Catherine Zeta-Jones was like really on the up and up.
Sure.
That I think weirdly is still. Oh, I was gonna say it's John Cusack's highest grossing film, but I think 2012 outgrossed.
Sure.
America's Sweethearts. But up until that point, it was his only $100 million movie.
Did not make $100 million.
99?
93.
Not
that
more than you would have thought.
Not a memorable movie.
No, it's not.
No.
I have seen it, but do not really remember. I remember Christopher Walken's at
It's
the
like
end
set at a
there.
junket, right?
Stacked supporting cast.
It's like a press junket.
It's a junket. I remember Billy Crystal explaining his idea for the movie, which was so convoluted, which he was like...
Is that the one? Is Julia Roberts like the ugly sister in it?
She used to be fat, I think. There's like a
literally
fat
cast Julia
flashback.
Roberts as like the ugly sister.
Yeah.
But she's not the lead. Like she's kind of a supporting part.
No, she's the lead.
Ends up being, but she's not in it. The movie's pretty ensemble-y.
It's
She ends
ensemble-y.
up being the romantic.
She's the romantic lead.
Because it's
Her
about
and Cusack
Cusack
end up together.
falling for
in
her,
love.
when he's being positioned as like
he's
Catherine
the movie star
Zeta-Jones's-
who's he's in
They're
the movie with
supposed to
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
like
a
and
Tom
she's
Hanks,
the
Meg
sister.
Ryan.
She is
Right.
her assistant, maybe.
She's the
This is the
assistant.
first
the
movie.
sad
Why do I
sack
remember
assistant.
these
Hey,
things?
man.
The first movie to come out post breakup for them. But it's a movie that thinks that American audiences are going to be very interested in the inner workings of
a press
junket
press
planning.
junket. Yes, right.
Because Seth Green is trying to figure out like what to put on like the buffet. Anyway, I don't know. Go on.
Number 4 is a winning and popular comedy of the year.
Scary Movie 2?
No. That's number 9.
Okay. 2001. It's a winning and popular comedy
A
of the year.
surprise hit.
Oh, Legally Blonde.
Legally Blonde.
Nice.
A good one.
Robert
Nice.
Luketic's Legally Blonde.
Yeah. What should have been Reese Witherspoon's second Oscar.
Win?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who wins that year? Halle Berry?
2001 is Halle Berry, right?
Yeah, give
or
it
is
to
that
her.
2002?
I think that's 2001. I said give it to Reese that year.
That was kind of a stacked year, though. We had Sissy Spacek,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I don't remember.
That's
who else.
2001. You're right.
2001.
Yeah,
Halle Berry,
2001.
Sissy
Monsters Balls,
Spacek.
2001.
What? I mean, Jennifer Connelly went supporting.
You have Judi Dench as Iris, you have Nicole for Moulin Rouge, and you have Renee for Bridget Jones.
I stand
Taking
by
that
my
sort
statement.
Of comedy slot.
I stand by my statement. Reese Witherspoon should have won Best Actress.
Number 5 is a film we've talked about on this podcast for its famed production process. It's a heist movie. A heist movie with major stars.
Oh, it is a film.
Ocean's 11?
Nope.
No, it is a film called The Score,
Oh,
in which
correct.
Robert De Niro
The Score.
directed Marlon Brando
Right.
through earpiece because Marlon Brando didn't want to listen to Miss Piggy. And when Marlon Brando also did scenes pantless because he wanted to force Frank Oz to use close-ups.
Yes. And your Brando impression.
I.e., the film that taught me how to become an actor. Tricks I still employ to this day.
They still work, huh?
Yeah, they still work. David, here on Blank Check, we like to look back a lot because we're connoisseurs of context.
It's a retrospective, folks.
Right?
Hindsight.
Right, but what do you want to do? What do you listen to if you're looking for the context of what's happening right now? You want people to address the big wheelings and dealings and news items of the film world of today.
I'm totally adrift. I don't know what to do.
/Filmcast, baby.
Of course.
You
Our
gotta
friends
check in.
at the /Filmcast.
Yes.
David Chen.
Yeah.
Devendra Hardwar.
I mean, they're going to address everything that's going on, all the rumors, all the hot takes, all the
Sure.
reactions.
Yeah.
You know, it's context in progress. It's history in the making, David.
I mean, I also just like it because it's like intelligent people talking about movies. You seem to be saying that it's some sort of like history-defining thing where they're like writing opinions in stone.
Well, to each their own. I do
Sure.
think podcasts are written in stone as they should be. They're recorded each onto a stone tablet.
Do we do that with our podcast?
We do.
Do we have a stone library?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But
Just checking
/Filmcast,
in.
it's like the 10 Commandments. These stones, I tells you. So, well, give her a listen.
You don't have to yell.
You should listen to /Filmcast.
It's a great podcast. It's weekly or even more maybe.
Sometimes they do a little daily guy.
Yeah. And you got great minds, you got great discussion, and check it out.
Yeah, check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
You also got Dr. Dolittle 2.
Sure.
I remember a big
Dr.
farting
Dolittle.
set piece. Yeah. Cats and Dogs.
Yeah.
In which cats and dogs go to war.
A weirdly successful film.
The Fast and the
They made
Furious.
a sequel to that.
They did.
They did.
The Fast and what? What is
The
that?
Furious is.
I'm not familiar with that one.
I don't think that one ever went anywhere.
Yeah, too bad.
God, you know what I'm not into? I'm sorry, guys.
Hobbs and Shaw?
I'm not into it.
Here's my.
I don't like that trailer. It feels too like pleased with itself.
If,
you know what I mean?
it wasn't called Fast and Furious, would you be all right with it?
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
it
that's,
was called,
That's my take. If it was called Tango and
if
Cash.
it was called Tango and Cash, like if they just straight up were like, we're just doing Tango and Cash.
I think I'd maybe be slightly more interested. I would be interested in Statham because I'm enjoying this part of Statham.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of The Rock.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sick of him.
I'm getting
You're
sick of
turning
him,
heel
too.
on The Rock.
A little bit. I'm a little sick of him. Not like I'm not like furious with him or anything, but it's just
Or
sort of like,
fast.
But I'll say
you know, he's kind of
This.
doing. He's got like two things.
I
He's
agree.
doing one or the other.
He's
you know?
sort of narrowed in on something, and he's just doing it over and over. He doesn't even, I mean,
Yeah.
people have pointed out, he doesn't even change the costume at this point. It's just
No.
like, get me a khaki button down.
It
also
should
think-
have zips.
Yeah.
You're right.
I've said this before.
Cargo pockets, khaki button down with cargos, and I'm ready to go.
I've said this before, but he brags about the fact that he only sleeps like 80 minutes a night. And I look at him in one of his 4 movies that he makes per year now, and
Right.
I go, "You look tired."
Right. You look a
But he
little
seems
disengaged, buddy.
I will say this though. I agree with you. I've been in a similar position with The Rock, but I'm a little encouraged because for the first time in a long time, he's actually working with good genre directors.
Yeah, well, right. You know,
Like David
I like
Leitch
David
is good.
Leitch
He's doing
so
a Jamie
far.
Colette Sarah
I
film.
haven't loved a David Leitch yet, but he can
The guy can
make an
clearly
action
direct action.
sequence cut together.
Right,
yes.
You know, Atomic Blonde was one of those movies where like I walked out and like before I even crossed the threshold of the theater, I was like, wait, what was happening in that movie? Like, you know, and the Deadpool 2 is horrible,
Haven't
like
seen it.
fucking horrible, but you know, it's got some
fine.
okay action.
I'm waiting
It's
for the
fine.
PG
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, sure. Well,
One
Maybe
more
they'll-
re-release.
Maybe they'll
see
just
that?
keep going until
Yeah.
they hit G.
Yeah.
Did you see
And it'll
how
be
many
12 minutes long.
screens a very whatever Deadpool Christmas or whatever
Once
was opened
upon a
on
Deadpool,
in China?
please.
How many?
Did you see how many screens it opened on in China?
What,
Clearly we did not.
5,000?
32,000 screens.
What?
Did you see that?
Does that
Which is-
cut exist because the regular Deadpool couldn't get approved in China?
Possibly. I
That
don't know. It
might
made-
make
'cause
sense.
It
That
was
would make
like
sense.
there was this thing where like the Chinese box was like, oh, it
Yeah.
made $21 million opening weekend in China. And I was like, oh, that's a lot. And then it was like on 32,000 screens. That's a $600 per screen average. There was basically no one there. But they opened it in 32,000 screens.
That seems high.
Quite
32,000.
high.
They were
Seems
putting
very
screens
high.
up in other places, like at supermarkets.
Like, is there like a 40 screen multiplex that's just like, it's only the Deadpool movie?
Every
Like, that's-
classroom in China pulled down the screen and the projector started playing.
Like China has, I think, about 5 times our population. Not, it's not like the multiplier is not enough. Like
That's
to,
about
to
5
justify
times our population
32,000.
and 100 times our Once Upon a Deadpool screens.
Just crazy. Anyway,
No, the Jamie Colette Sarah doing Jungle Cruise has me a little excited. My biggest problem with The Rock has been him like working with Rasta Marshall Thurber and Brad Payton, who is the man who directed the Cats and Dogs sequel.
Yeah.
Like he found these kind of journeyman guys who
Right.
clearly they were beholden to him.
Right.
I like him working with people who are actual stylists. Right. You know. It's a big difference between The Rock and Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger is willing to give himself over to directors.
totally. Well, talking you got the Schwarzenegger
I know that's
expert
why. I mean,
in
yeah,
here,
you know,
He's an artist.
right.
He is. He is. The
And
Rock
Vin's
is
an
not
artist.
yeah. I think also, and The Rock has talked so much about how much he was spooked by Southland Tales
Yeah.
flopping, and I feel like that scared him off anything too freaky or, you know, risky.
It makes sense. You look at the movies he makes now, and that makes perfect sense.
He also, it's just like he's so much like a businessman.
Yeah.
You know, where I just now more and more start to see the sort of machinations behind
It's very everything he does is very calculated.
I wish he would just do an Instagram video where he's like, I'm excited for Hobbs and Shaw. I made it because I got in a fight with Vin Diesel and I like money. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is something I did because I enjoy making money, and it's kind of just like a movie to come out in the summer, but it's not going to be very good. Okay? Is everyone excited?
But every time he
Like,
announces
he always has
his
to be
new-
like, this is it. My culture,
Yeah.
like, is intersecting with my action hero stardom. And, like, you know, it's like, it's just the fucking, billionth movie you made where you drive a car into someone.
Like,
Like, does it have to be so weighty?
He posted, especially because the movies are so lacking in any sort of like thematic weight.
God.
When he was shooting Rampage, he posted one of those things where it was like, I remember being a 5-year-old, my father bringing me to the zoo and pointing at the animals and going, you can trust animals in a way you can't trust humans because animals always show you what they think.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. I want to make a movie about that. And it's like, it was like a fucking Ulysses he wrote as like his Instagram comment. Like it was like 5,000 words long. There was something else I was going to say about him. Oh, a thing on his Instagram is that he has been more and more talking about tequila and how much he loves tequila and doing tequila shots
So
on
he's
set.
going to do a Clooney?
Yeah, 100%.
Right,
But
right.
it's so
Totally.
mechanical because tequila never used to be part of his brand.
Right.
And now everything's like, my regular breakfast, tequila in my oatmeal.
Are you okay, Dwayne?
Blink if you need help, Dwayne
Seem
Johnson.
like he's an alcoholic because he wants to launch a tequila brand because he clearly got jealous of how much money Clooney made making tequila.
Well, I hope
He's not
he
physically
finds-
capable of making more movies, so he has to do something
I know.
else
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah. Maybe he needs to make more Ballers. What if Ballers suddenly was like on a Days of Our Lives schedule and there was like 40 episodes of Ballers per year?
He'd find a way.
Like he House of Pains it. He makes 100 episodes a year. Oh, God. And now I'm just looking at his fucking Instagrams. It's just, look, I love The Rock. I've been with him for 20 years.
Of course, he's
I've
the
known him
best.
since I
love
was
him when I
a
love
boy.
him. Yeah.
You know, I watched wrestling when I was a kid, you know, all that shit. Like, I've enjoyed his rise to stardom. I'm getting a little tired of
just feels like
the
he's
exact
stretching.
same movie.
Yeah, he needs to make a different movie.
Yes.
I'm a little
ready for a
hopeful
different
for Jungle Cruise. You got a good cast around him. I mean,
It could be good.
Sarah
It could be good. It is also another movie where he plays a guy with a khaki shirt.
correct.
He's
An action
like, what
movie
are you
with a
talking
khaki
about? Isn't
shirt.
Jungle Cruise just like the African Queen?
Sure, but it's gonna
a
be-
Disney ride.
Directed by like our weirdest.
I love Jean Colosera. I love the guy.
But it's going to be like the Planet of the Apes of this kind of movie because it's going to be all. It's not going to be the African. It's going to be like the African Queen if it was all an action movie.
Right, exactly. And I have no idea what the third Jumanji movie is going to be, but like, I can't imagine that thing rushed to production, you know, like with whatever script they could find is going to be like a really justified sequel.
All the cast additions are really weird too.
Well,
Isn't it like
who are they?
Aquafina, Danny Glover, and Danny DeVito?
I believe I'm just looking for one cast subtraction.
Those names are listed
Yeah.
here on the IMDb.
Yes. Nick Jonas is not involved, which is great. Nick Jonas, it's Nick Jonas, right? Is it Nick Jonas?
Yeah.
That's the worst performance I've ever seen in a film. I'm sorry.
I wish.
I was like, I was aghast. I remember
Mark
I kept turning to
Wahlberg
you.
from Planet of the Apes just went.
We saw that together.
It was crazy. Right?
You turned to me. Your best line was you turned to me and just said, like during his second scene when your blood was already in a boil, you turned to me and said, "There are other actors. Why did they hire him?
It's crazy. It's a crazy performance.
There are
It makes no
other
sense.
actors."
Oh my God. Yeah. Whew. All right. Great job, guys. What a great podcast by all of
What
us.
a good time.
Ben's ready to.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
Matt. I'm gonna pimp you out.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wait, is that a good thing or
I
a
have
bad
no
thing?
idea. I
Because
don't know
it
what
could
this
go either
means.
way.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
You, of course, are a connoisseur of movie tie-in meals.
Yes.
Now, this film had a lot of like marketing, promotional partners. There was a big thing where this movie they did geocaching. Do you remember when that was a thing?
Vaguely. I'm sure.
There's a Variety article about how they were like, we've planted Planet of the Apes props in 7 different locations around the world.
What?
You have to get what we're calling a GPS device. It was a $100 device that was just a GPS to try to locate these props. And they were like, the world is going to engage in like a Planet of the Apes scavenger hunt. They had Reebok ads. They had all this shit, but they didn't have any food tie-ins.
Right.
And the Caesar trilogy later didn't have any food tie-ins. Do you feel like there are now, especially with Denny's, who are kind of running the table on tie-in menu items? Do you have an idea of what you think would be a good? I mean, bananas obviously.
is the obvious thing.
Right. Smoothies.
Kong Skull Island, it was just like bigger
It was
versions.
gigantic burgers, but
Right.
but Kong is huge.
Right,
like it's not
right.
like
that
that's
kind of worked.
Yeah. Boy, you're really putting me on the
What's
spot.
the worst one you ever had to do of those fucking things that you have to do?
that I forced myself to do.
Yeah.
No, that I
Right. No
I
one's
have to
right.
do
No,
it.
but you know what I'm saying. Like, what's the one at the end where you were like Jesus?
I think the Independence Day one.
Independence
Day resurgence.
That one had a lot of
It
syrup,
had like
right?
100 items.
Right.
And it was
just
all
okay.
bacon.
Right.
For some reason, they decided
that was a Denny's.
The
right.
theme, that was Denny's. Yeah, they were like, the theme of this movie is, and how it connects to us is bacon.
It is crazy how much more work Denny's is doing than any of their competitors these days. Because like when Aquaman came out, I was like, oh, there's like an Aquaman tie-in at Burger King. I'm gonna like get the Aquaman sandwich and bring it in, and we'll eat it on mic. And there was no Aquaman sandwich.
No.
And I was like, there has to be some dumb like fish with bacon that they call like the curry burger or something, you know?
Right.
Or maybe it's fish with curry sauce or whatever. I don't know.
I think Cold Stone Creamery had some sort of special Aquaman
Burger King
ice
had
cream.
a tie-in, but they didn't have any items. Cold Stone and Pinkberry each had their own like ocean blueberry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
IHOP is the one other person in this, or entity
they've
in
been
this
showing
space.
up to play.
Yeah, they had everything green for the Grinch. That was the last one.
Oh, how
They had
was that?
Green pancakes.
Were the flavors
Green.
different, or were they just?
It tasted well. They were like incredibly sweet. It was like a green pancake with like literally like icing on top. Ugh. And little red candy hearts.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Because his heart is tiny.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
I mean, that's better than bacon for Independence Day. At least it makes some sense.
Bacon's pretty American.
That's true.
Matt, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was really my pleasure. I love this movie so much. It was so great to revisit it.
You begged
I've
and
been
begged
waiting
and
for
begged.
I've been waiting for 18 years for a legitimate excuse to rewatch it.
Oh, one thing I want to say: the
please.
Elfman score, the opening theme. When you're on the credits,
Yep.
you're like, "Whoa, this is crazy!"
And the credits
then,
roll.
like the
That's it.
score, is the rest of the time is just boring. and
I thought the
nothing.
same exact thing. I was watching. I was like, "Whoa, the score
What
is
a
actually pretty fun."
banging theme,
And
like
then-
and all the weird percussion. And
Totally forgets it.
Right.
Dunk, dunk, dunk.
I think he just worked so hard on that, and then I don't know, like maybe he like hurt his leg or something. I just forgot to
But
do
also
the rest.
the opening
Or saw
credits
the rest
sequence-
and was like, "This
Yeah.
is not worth it." For me.
Right,
Why am
right.
Why am I using the A material here?
Right.
The opening credit sequence is like if they had like a temporary exhibit at the Museum of Moving Image and you got to see the costumes up close and you're like, I guess there was some good craft in this movie.
Right.
Like when they're doing those detail shots of the helmets and stuff in the opening credits, you're like, some of this looks cool.
Feels very Saul Bass to me.
Yes.
If Saul Bass had done the original Planet of the Apes
Yes.
opening titles, which he did not.
No.
So I'm not
Did the
sure why.
Poster, right? I feel like there's a poster that looks very Saul Bassy. Who knows? Someone. I'm not going to look it up now. Matt, thank you for being here.
Sure.
David, thank you for being here.
Anything you want to plug, Matt?
No.
Okay. All right.
Are there
That's
any tie-in meals on the horizon?
I don't
We tend
know.
to not get like
I mean-
much of a heads up.
No, they just kind of emerge. People, they do them very quietly. I guess, yeah, you can just follow me on Twitter at Matt Singers. That's if there is one, you'll find
A
it there.
smart follow.
And all the
good follow.
anything good that's worth sharing, I'll just post there anyway. So
Right.
yeah, I guess that would be about it.
Thank you all for listening.
Mhm.
Is a thing I'll say. Another thing I'll say is please remember to rate, review, subscribe.
Right.
If I can add to that, I would say thanks to Leigh Montgomery for our theme song. Addendum to my last note. Thanks to Andrew Guda for our social media.
Yeah, drag this out.
Postscript. Thanks to Joe Bone and Ben Reynolds for our work. Ben is taking a nap.
Thanks to General Thade too.
Thanks to General Thade.
Build him a monument.
Thanks to
for whom he saved the planet.
Ada.
It makes
Ari,
no sense.
The memory
Limbo.
of General Thade
Pericles.
enshrined forever.
Dana. Captain Leo Davidson.
Love him.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Big ups to Captain Leo.
Dirty Chris Christopherson.
He's so dirty. Built though. Arms on that.
we
He's
guy.
got some guns. He really does.
We didn't talk about the fact that he exists in this movie to die.
Yeah. I don't know. To kind of look like Heston-y. Sort of
Yeah.
like he's got like a Heston-y vibe.
He does.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's kind of a, look, maybe this is like a fizzle out ending, but this at least replicates how I felt walking out of the theater going like, no, Dad, it was good, right? I mean, there were some scenes that we liked.
It should be an exasperating experience. If you're going to really nail this movie.
We left at that aspirin joke, right?
Yeah.
And then after this, he makes a big fish.
Big Fish. We're going to talk about it next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to say? I don't know.
No, it's been great. Great episode. Another great episode.
Put it in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Well, as always, I can't even think about anything else. I've exhausted every single thing I could possibly say around this movie.
Right.
So what's the end as always? What is it? Is it just us throwing up our hands in defeat?
Sure.
Purple Cloud.
Okay, so it's maybe we just say Purple Cloud. Okay.
Pericles.
So I'm just gonna say both of them.
Pericles Fox.
Okay, ready? This is what I'm gonna do. Here we go. We're showing the process. Now people know how the sausage is made. Ready?
It's not usually how it's made, to be clear.
No, this is always how it's made. We cut this part out, and this time we're leaving it in. It's usually a tense negotiation at the end of the episode to settle what the end as always is. Ben, keep it in and doubling it, and as always, Pericles fucks a purple cloud.